to Hugh.
Not at all. I mean, if you look at the water, there's a slight drift from the start to the finish, a slight tailwind, but the flags are virtually still. Some of them flickering now. It's come and gone through the morning, but if it's anything, it'll be a slight help, but nothing significant. As expected in this race, you can see that the three scullers who've moved out are those that did best in the semi-finals: Mira Napkova, Katrin Ruchka-Stomporowski and Romania Nekova, and those three are still being shadowed by Caroline Luthi in lane 6, but Caroline isn't known as a single sculler to go the whole distance with this class of these top three. Ruchka has moved out in order to I think this is tactical or strategic or whatever the thing is. She's not necessarily saying she's going to go the whole way this much faster than the other two, but she's set an early pace and making them chase her. What's a pleasure to see is Mirka Napkova, who came on the scene only 3 years ago, then missed the rest of the season after starting well virtually as a novice. She went off for some sort of operation and came back, and she hadn't quite made it back into the top crowd. She's a finalist caliber but not a medalist sculler up to now, and she's looking very strong on the left of the sculler we're looking at now, Katrin Ruchka, with those front three.
Yeah, Katrin Ruchka, very interesting, because Jutta Lau, who's the boss of the German women's sculling squad, this race is very significant because they haven't actually quite decided the lineup, and the performance that Ruchka puts in here in relation to Naikova will be analysed very carefully. I'm pretty sure that Katrin would like to do the single scull, but if things didn't go her way, there's always the possibility of her being put back into the quad, in which she won a gold medal in Atlanta with the German quad there. So all things to play for. The other big news in the German sculling side is the fact that Katrin Boron, sadly, she's got some back problems. She was here, desperately disappointed not to be able to scull in the double here. She's back home, and fingers crossed, but of course that's put a big question mark also over the composition of the double and the quad. So watch this unfold over not just this World Cup regatta, but also in Munich and ultimately in Lucerne. There we are through the first quarter, and the principals, well, rather predictably, have pulled away from the rest, with quite a gap back to Marita Schultz in fourth place there, and Luthi, who was ninth in the world a year ago, ahead of Femke Decker, who's relatively new to this. It's
interesting, this time last year, the opening World Cup regatta, Romania Nekova in Milan, on very hot weather, very contrasting weather to this, she went out in front, she dominated the race, and then got overhauled on the very last stroke and actually collapsed for that race. It was kind of sad to see her go down like that. She's obviously taking it more cautiously, and she may have heard you talking, David, because she may think, well, I want Ruchka as the oppo this year. I don't want Boron in the single. So maybe she's going to let her look good today.
I don't think Boron would be in the single, to be perfectly honest, but it's just a question of which way Jutta finally decides things. But Nekova just beginning to respond a little bit now, because she's got into the mood of liking to dominate and liking to win these races, and I think she'd want to beat Ruchka here. Apart from anything else, I mean, it's World Cup, there are points available, there's a title available, there's a bit of bonus money as well, so she'll want the victory if she can get it.
She has just overtaken Mira Napkova there. Yes, of course, it was her Olympic final in 2000 in Sydney when she led all the way and was passed on the last stroke by Katarina Karsten, and it took them 25 minutes, actually 29 minutes, to sort out the photo finish, and it was a cruel blow when she learned that she'd been passed, not in the last stroke, in the last millimetre of the last stroke, to lose the Olympic gold there.
Well, this is a very determined piece of sculling in the third quarter there by Katrin Ruchka, because she really has asked a question of Naikova. So a length and clear water, in fact. Ruchka storming away, and at the moment Naikova not really showing much sign of a response there. There's a big advantage gained there as we go into the fourth quarter now, and the first 4, 5, 6 are through now, but 16 seconds separating first and sixth at the moment. But Katrin Ruchka, a stellar start, looking very strong, very smooth.
Yeah, she's now in the last quarter, and it's interesting, she just raised it up a snap there. She's now sculling at 34.5 strokes to the minute. She'd been going along at 33. She just wants to get a little bit more lead here, and it's it is a show of dominance, and it's clearly important to her to make that mark.
interesting also is this a change of tactic, because so often we've seen Rutschau shadowing and not leading. Of course, she was world champion in 2001, but this is a different piece of sculling here, different piece of approach mentally to the challenge here, because whatever you say, Naikova isn't going to win this, I don't think, unless Rutschau completely collapses in the last 250, and I don't think that's going to happen.
Naikova's gone up to 35 strokes a minute. As you were speaking then, we saw her raise the rate, and she is closing sharply on Rutschau. It looks a long way to catch up over this distance, but as I said earlier on, even today, slow-moving boats, you can make up a lot of difference with a fast sprint in a way that you can't possibly in the big 8 and the quad. She has closed. She's made very certain that she's kept Mirka Napkova behind her, and she's put in a late flourish, but it's not going to make a great deal of difference to the ultimate result, as Rutschau now closes with half a length of open water, closes up on the line and eases through it, leaving Naikova coming through in second place near to you, and Napkova in third place, crossing the line 2 seconds behind her, 2.5 seconds behind her.
Yeah, and still to come through are Femke Decker, Caroline Luthi and Marita Scholz, who one has to say, in the company they're keeping today, completely outclassed. But very interesting. Rutschau, start to finish, she looks pretty relaxed, I have to say. She's recovering very, very quickly. I think that was a good confidence boost there. And of course, one other important absentee today. This is Ekaterina Karsten, Kodotovic as she was, as you see her going off the start here. And well, there Karsten's back in Cologne with her husband Wilfried and their daughter Alexandra, and no doubt she'll be taking note of this, because of course Karsten is the big race rival, double Olympic champion, and there's no doubt that Karsten will be, providing she's fit, in the field and looking to make it 3 in a row. And no woman sculler has ever done that. Pertti Karppinen did it for the men, but I think she'd like to do it for the women.
I think she would like to do it for the women, but her dominance is nothing like Karppinen's. Karppinen in the final year of his period, because he won in 1976 as an unexpected winner. He won in 1980 and then in 1984, and he was dominant. This woman isn't.
We'll be back on Eurosport after this. It's on Eurosport. David Goldstrom together with Hugh Matheson here in Poznan, and this is the lineup for the final of the men's single sculls. And the man that we're looking for is Marcel Hacker in lane 3, who's yet to
no, it's not. It's Olaf Tufte in lane 2. He was off the picture to the right.
So the lineup on the far side is Andre Vonenberg, 11th in the World Championships last year, and as a result of that 11th place, qualified for the Olympics. Now here's the great Yuri Janssen, must be 39-40 something, I would think, Hugh. World single sculls champion for the Soviet Union back in 1990. Of course, these days representing Estonia and inspiring some Estonian youngsters. And here's Marcel Hacker. Well, he was world champion in 2002, and 2002 was the breakthrough, but last year only finished second, but he's quite accepting of that situation, because he was beaten fairly by this man, Olaf Tufte, Itzhak Chop in lane number 4, and next to him will be the world champion Olaf Tufte. The first 4 from last year's World Championships in today's lineup. So this is really a world-class field that we've got here. There is the world champion Olaf Tufte, who by all reports is in very good condition, has been putting in some very good times indeed. And much more to talk about him during the race. And next to him, completing the lineup in lane 6, is Vaclav Chalupa. So just run down the field for you. Furthest away, Andre Vonenberg in lane 1 for Switzerland. Then it'll be Yuri Janssen, 2 from the top of your picture for Estonia. The world champion of 2002, Marcel Hacker, is in lane 3. Then Tufte, who's 3 from the bottom of your Then Istok Chop, who's in 4, is for Slovenia, the world champion Istok Chop back in 1995. And then Norway's Olaf Tufte and Vaclav Chalupa will be closest to you. So it really is a fantastic lineup. It is as good almost as the world final itself.
The leading characteristic of these athletes is their age. Once you're in single sculls and once you've, as it were, carved it out as your profession, it's your niche, then you stay in for a long time. So there we have Vaclav Chalupa, who first appeared in the single sculls field in 1989 when he won a silver medal. And we were talking about Yuri Janssen, who was world champion in 1990. Chop's been around for almost as long as those two. And Tufte spent a long apprenticeship in the Norwegian double scull before he came through and won the world championships in the single in 2001. So these guys really know their trade. Marcel Hacker, he, as you pointed out, David, is the newcomer on the block, and he blew it all together in 2001 when he cracked in the semi-final, but then he really made amends the following year in 2002. But we feel he took the pressure off himself by not winning last year in Milan, because this year he comes into the Olympics with a completely fresh slate, and if he was holding on to a double world championship, he'd got a very slow start there. He dropped a couple of feet off the start, particularly compared to Istok Chop, who's naturally one of the fastest starters.
So away we go in the final of the men's single sculls, and we're going away with Marcel Hacker. All of these men who finished in the top 11 places in last year's World Championships have qualified personally for the Olympic Games. The men's single sculls and the women's single sculls, the two categories in which you make a personal qualification for the Olympic Games. It's then down to your National Olympic Committee and your National Federation to endorse that. But 3 from the top of the picture now. Marcel Hacker taking charge, which is what he likes to do, and chasing him most closely at the moment, Istok Chop for Slovenia. Istok, who's 31 years of age, from Bled Rowing Club, now reducing that advantage of Marcel's to about half a length. 2 from the bottom of the picture is Norway's Olaf Tufte. Now the Norwegian has done pretty well. What's interesting about Olaf Tufte at the moment is that he's the only Norwegian and he's the only boat for his country that has qualified for the Olympic Games. They have prepared pretty meticulously. They had some summer, or I should say warm weather training down in Seville. They've also, Olaf Tufte has been in March up to Siseralm at high altitude, which is something they've been doing for many, many years, the Norwegians, to do some cross-country skiing. And they've also been down to South Africa for more high-altitude training. As we come to the end of the first quarter now, and it's still Hacker, but closely pursued by Istok Chop.
Chop they're all scudding along in a row. The Hacker, Chop and Tufte at 37 strokes a minute, and Chop decided that he'd better get back on terms, and he upped it to 38 just then, just to get back on a level. You can see the swallows really close to the water. That shows it's going to carry on raining for a bit longer there in the picture behind Hacker. Almost disappearing in the mist.
It's interesting because I was going to say the relative positions, of course, last year in the World Championships in Milan, Hacker had to look left and right. He was the meat in the sandwich, and Chop is now really putting the effort here in the second quarter to try and test Hacker.
I think he's testing himself, he's testing the field. I don't think Chop will be just worrying about Hacker. Last year he used to keep him under pressure because he was concerned that Hacker felt unchallenged, and so he did race out in front of him a couple of times but let Hacker through at the end. It was as much as Chop could do, but he did soften him up so that when Tufte came for him in the World Championships final, it went Tufte's way.
Looking quite comfortable, actually, is Yuri Janssen, 2 from the top of your picture there, and he's very much on terms with Tufte in 3rd place, and also Vonnerberg, representing Switzerland, of course. He'll be very happy about that Zeno Muller, now a full American citizen, is actually going to try and reenact his triumph of gold from Atlanta in an American vest in Athens. We won't see Zeno, I'm sure, until Lucerne, because he doesn't like flying, but that's going to be a fascinating piece of the jigsaw when we put it into the Swiss water on the 20th of June.
Scullers are all down now to 32, 33. This is much more steady and race pace. I think they're probably beginning to feel the sort of the weight of the conditions, which are gently tailwind, but the dull, damp weather is probably getting into the bones, and they're settling down and just doing a bit of foxing towards the finish. But Hacker, we think, is still in front, having been challenged by Chop there, but the camera obviously thinks that he's the race leader.
Yeah, they're having one or two problems here, but it is Marcel Hacker and Itzhak Chop, the two principals, and well into the second half of the race now. And I must say he's a much more balanced character these days, isn't he, Marcel Hacker? He doesn't get upset. He wasn't upset in the way that he would have been a couple of years ago when he got the silver medal. He said, fair enough, I was beaten by a better guy on the day. I'll come back, I'll sort myself out, and we'll try again next year.
He's one of the ones, they all do in different ways, who works with a team psychologist, and it's a very mature sport, this. I said they're older guys. It takes a long time to get up there. And as Ian Lawson was telling us earlier on in the pre-broadcast, it's about knowing yourself, knowing your qualities, knowing your skills. We were wrong earlier when we said that Hacker was still in front. He isn't. We've got Chop front of the picture there with the baseball cap backwards on his head. We've then got Yuri Janssen in second place, leading Hacker, and with Olaf Tufte still absolutely in touch. They're all overlapping, these four, and anything could happen. But Tufte, the world champion, is in fourth place, with Yuri Janssen curious because he is a sculler who throughout his career has tended to sit at the back and come through late. Now they're entering the last 500 meters, and he's just taken the lead there.
Yes, he's timed it beautifully, and I think he's got there very economically as well, because just looking at his splits there, 141.45, 146.01, and the last quarter 143.70, just upped it, but he's seemingly come there with a lot of power, a lot of strength, very clear in his mind, which is always vital when you're single sculling, to know your purpose and know where you're going. And he's pulled out now over Itzhak Chop, something like 3/4 of a length. He is the elder statesman, the senior man of the class, but Chop now beginning to counter-attack there. And this is going to be interesting. Does Yuri Janssen have the strength to hold off a renewed challenge from Itzhak Chop? And where is Tufte? Because I would have expected him to have shown himself a little bit more. As you can see, there's Marcel Hacker in third place. There's the bow of Tufte's skull. Now, is he going to come with the right rattle in the last 250? Because we have heard that he's got some really good sprinting speed.
Chop is chasing at 36.5 strokes a minute, but it's Janssen still at 37 in front, and he looks like he's still got the steam to go there. He's actually increasing his lead. He's gone out to quarter length of open water and has this field absolutely trailing behind him. He's getting stronger and getting further away as they are not slowed down. They are really fighting. Hacker and Chop now level for second place.
And it is Marcel Hacker who's just about got second place as they come towards the line. And here comes Olaf Tufte with a real burst on the near side. Bottom of the picture. He's coming in now to maybe grab even second place. I don't think he'll quite do it. Hacker gets second. Chop is third. Tufte just showing him that the power and the speed's there. And I wonder whether that's another piece of canny sculling there, because Tufte came with real pace towards the end there, and I think he's left quite a bit to do, and he's just left uncertainty in all of the minds of his major opponents there. Victory to Yuri Janssen, a World Cup success. All credit to him.
All these scullers train on their own, and there is nobody in their countries who is the same speed as them. So the best that they can do is train against a lightweight double or something like that to get some sort of pacemaking. This is the first real test they have in their season, and they're all finding their legs. And it's Janssen is triumphant there that his legs were the ones that came through strongest. There we are, 500 meters to go, and sorry, that's 500 meters gone, and Hacker was the leader. The next quarter, Chop was the leader. The next quarter, Estonia, and so at the finish.
Yeah, 142.31 for Tufte's final quarter. Yuri Janssen, though, better than that, 142.11, which is why he actually got the victory. But Norway, Tufte travelling faster than Hacker and faster than Chop in that last 500 metres. I think that's something to watch out for.
Tufte came up to 43 strokes a minute, 42.5, 43, as he closed across the line. and that was a little finishing sprint. As I said, he didn't know his pace compared to the other scullers of this caliber. He was testing it all, and he just came up at that last burst because he managed to cram more strokes in. But they'll all be, there's nobody out of touch. That's just fine. Good race for Andre von Aarberg from Switzerland. He's in touch with this top bracket, and very satisfying for him.
And all of those scullers, of course, as I said, by right have a opportunity to go to Athens, to the Olympic Games. We're going to take a short break here on Eurosport. Stay with us here on worldrowing.com. We'll be back after. And of course, World Cup points for each of the categories, as well as your nation. It's 8 for the victory. So a good start. But I think more important, Hugh, is the fact that Katrin Rutschau has sent a message, and a very clear message, to Jutta Lau, the head coach, that she wants to be in the single in the Olympics in Athens, in Chinias.
I think that's true. The great thing about the World Cup as an event, yes, we're collecting points, or people are collecting points for their team, but this is preparation for the Olympics. They're looking forward to Athens, and Rutschau wants her place in the single scull, and she wants to be on the winner's rostrum in Athens. That's what she's looking for from today.
Coming up already on the starting pontoon, we've got the women for the final of the pairs. And here we're just joining the action now. This is the Russian pair who are on the far side in lane number 1. This partnership was actually 14th a year ago. In lane 2, Virginie Chauvel, she's on the right of your picture, and Sophie Balmary in the stroke seat. This partnership who were second. They've qualified boat for the Olympic Games, but not necessarily themselves, but it's likely they'll hold on to that place. Then the former world champions, Georgieta Andronacci and Viorica Suzanu. Now they, of course, defeated last year by the two women who you will see in a moment sitting to their left. And those two Romanians beaten by these two women, the two Caths, Catherine Granger and Kath Bishop. Catherine Granger on the right there in the bow seat, Kath Bishop in the stroke seat for Great Britain, the reigning world champions. But they don't see themselves defending this title, that title, of course, because the Olympic challenge is something completely different. So they've mentally taken that pressure away from themselves. Then in lane number 5, Maren Delian and Sandra Goldbach, Sandra Goldbach, who was bronze medalist in the women's 4 a year ago. And closest to you for Belarus. Now, this is not Yulia Bishik and Natalia Helak, who are the normal rivals, or representatives, I should say, for Belarus in this boat class. Those two women you will see later this morning, actually in the women's 8. But it's a new partnership here. Volna Maros and Irina Vasilutskaya, who represent Belarus today. But there are the Romanians. Georgieta Damian there, sitting behind Viorica Suzanu. They're both 27 years of age, and it'll be very interesting. This is the first renewal that we've had since last year's World Championships between the Romanians and indeed the two Caths for Great Britain. And the two Caths, I think, like all these women, just a little disappointed that this is effectively a straight final. They did race yesterday to decide the lane positions, but this is really their only second run out in earnest. But this is the one that matters. And at this time of the season, all of these women, all of the rowers here at this regatta, they're eager to race.
They're eager to race. They've done 11 months of training since they've done 10 months of training since the last World Championships. They've of course been doing trials. They've been doing all sorts of things in-house. But when you get out into an international field like this, it is exciting. There was a little bit of a taster at Seville a couple of months ago, but this is the real thing.
So the start of the women's pairs. The world champions, 3 from the bottom of your picture, and away we go. And this should be absolutely fascinating. Conditions very good. If you've just joined us here, Hugh Matheson and myself, David Goldstrom, we're going off with the Romanians, Suzanu and Andronacci. Andronacci, who you might know better as Damian, medalist and also, of course, an Olympic gold medalist on not one but 2 occasions at the Sydney Olympics. But here are the two Caths. Kath Bishop, who's facing you, Kath Granger behind. Kath Bishop, of course, becoming a world champion with Kath Granger for the first time in her career in Milan a year ago. Germany in lane number 5, Sandra Goldbach, bronze medal in the women's 4 with Maren Derlin. You would make them outsiders here.
I think they have to be. This is, I mean, it's the middle two crews in the pole positions 3 and 4, Romania and Great Britain, to whom we're looking for a lead even at the first 500 meters, let alone over the whole course. You can see that pair there from Romania. They're going across the course towards the right of your picture, and indeed that's the Germans, and they're doing the same thing. Pairs, particularly off the start, are very difficult to steer because it depends on an absolutely even application of power on the two sides. One of the athletes in each pair has a little rudder, which you can see at the stern of the boat, attached to the foot, and you can twist it left and right. And here we actually do have the Germans, who we were saying earlier might not make the thing, but they're the ones out in front by half a length over the field, with Granger and Bishop second just, and the Romanians behind them, or possibly second and third. Those two are second and third, but the two crews on the far side still very much in touch.
Yes, everybody really in with a chance. Maybe Belarus just trailing at the moment as we go through the first quarter, but it is Germany who have the advantage. There's Belarus just at the bottom of the screen, a length off the pace. But Germany leading the way, Maren Derlin and Sandra Goldbach on the left of your picture there. And Great Britain just beginning to find their rhythm now and going with the Romanians. And I think that there's no doubt here that the two cats would be disappointed if they don't win this.
Yeah, very certainly they'll be disappointed. They beat the Romanians into third place last year, and they became the dominant pair. They have all the material needs of a crew. They're big, strong, athletic women. They work very well together. They get on as a pair of personalities together. They've got experience of racing at top level, and last year they got that great boost of confidence comes from not just winning the World Championships, but winning consistently through the season and feeling themselves improve. The position that they're in now in this race is just fine. They're in the pack with the leaders. They're pulling the Germans back, and they're in close touch with Romania. They're in the middle of the field. This is exactly where they want to be. But what they will be doing here today, and this is vital, is testing their change of pace when they want to make a move. Will it work? Will it move faster than the crews around them? And generally speaking, trying to sort out their tactics and the feel for what it's like to be going at full pressure against top international competition. In that little glimpse we got there, they're just about level with Romania.
Yes, the Germans are about 3/4 of a length over Romania and Great Britain at the moment. Kat Bishop, when we catch a view for probably her last season, she wants to obviously go out in style, as does her partner in the boat there, Kath Granger, as we go to the 1,000-meter mark, and it is about just a little bit more than half a length that the Germans have got over Romania, and then Great Britain in third, and those three crews beginning to pull away from Russia and France and Belarus, who are still some way off the pace. What I think is interesting about Kath Granger, a little bit of back problem, doesn't talk about it, just gets on with it, and I was talking to her yesterday and seems very, very positive. I was asking her actually how she relaxes, because when you're focusing on this all the way through to Athens, and she's still carrying on with her PhD on homicide, which is so different as to be a very good way, I would think, of relaxing. I would actually quite fascinated to know whether she might end up one day by writing TV detective thrillers.
She's a very articulate woman. She could do almost anything she likes. I think they're pulling back Germany there on their left. They're still not past them, but they're still very much in touch. And so it's those three that, as you say, have pulled away from the rest of the field. The Belarus pair of Volha Marush and Irina Baziliuskaya are clearly not intending to take over the mantle of Bicik and Helak, silver medalists last year. There's clearly some important testing going on in the Belarus system, but this is obviously a spare pair rather than a crew expected to take the vanguard.
Now Andrew Nucci and Cesanu certainly making their presence felt now, and Kath Bishop and Kath Granger, as we come towards the end of the third quarter now, this is where really they've got to show a little bit of power and speed here to put themselves back. It's Romania who have taken the advantage now off Germany, and they lead this women's pairs final. Just 500 meters to go now. Well, in fact, very difficult angle to talk there. It was Germany and Romania, and probably Germany who've still actually got the advantage. So apologies for misleading you there. It was just a very difficult angle, and actually from our commentary position, not one that we can look out and see.
A bad third 500 there from the British pair. They've given away a second to the other two crews, and they're going to have to do something really quite substantial in the last 500 if they're going to get back on touch.
That is beginning to happen, I think, now, and we can see now that Kath Bishop and Kath Granger, they've got more of an overlap on the Romanians. They're trying to come between the two boats. It's Germany closest to us, then Great Britain, then Romania on the far side, but the chips are down now, and the two Kaths have left themselves quite a lot to do. Best part of a length to make if they want to win this, as we come down with about 300 meters to go now, and Germany being challenged by Romania. Susanu and Andrunacci really pushing it down to the Germans to our left now, and it looks now as if the Romanians have indeed come through to take the advantage. 250 meters to go now. Still the British biding their time. Here comes Kath Bishop and Kath Granger coming through between the two, and it is Romania now being challenged by Great Britain. On the near side, Germany, who've been held now, coming towards the finish now. Romania with the advantage. Granger and Bishop are closing, but in fact, it's the Romanians who've got first run on them, and that is going to see them to the finish line. Granger and Bishop closing now. It's down to about half a length now as they come into the last 5 strokes of this women's pairs final. And Andrunacci and Susanu are going to get this victory here in the opening World Cup of the season from the British pair, with Germany in third place, and a long way back in fourth will be Russia from France, and then finally Belarus. Well, I think everybody, particularly the crews, the first 3, Hugh, will have learned a lot about themselves and their opponents.
Absolutely. In that finishing sprint, just as they came off the picture, we saw Bishop and Granger move up a gear. They went up to 39 strokes per minute, and then we came back into picture. They were cruising right through Germany and closing up on Romania. But then it got stuck. They actually stuck at about 38 strokes per minute for the whole of the last 250 meters and didn't make any more progress at that point, and so they did learn something very significant about where they've got to make their moves, because they've absolutely got the speed, they've absolutely got it to get back in touch. But that's a little bit of a disappointment, but a good learning object lesson.
Rowing at infovoice.de is our email address for your questions and thoughts, and we'll try and respond to those if we can during the morning. As you see the start of the race, very strong start by the Germans, and all credit to them. I was probably a little unkind and a little ungenerous to them because it is a new partnership, but I thought as a new partnership they actually did really quite well.
Oh, they'll be, I hope they'll be pleased against the two quality pairs in this field. They showed in front for the best part of 1700 meters, so that was an absolutely excellent opener from them. We can't say that both the Romanians and the Brits have something to learn from this process if you don't acknowledge that the Germans have made great strides today.
So 1:45.51 was the final quarter for Kath Bishop and Kath Granger, and that got them, as you can see, to within just over a second, but they will put that back into the computer and work it out for the next regatta. Their intention is to go right the way through to Munich and Lucerne. And on the podium now, Yuri Janssen. Well, I wonder whether he expected to be standing centre stage after the opening World Cup of men's single sculls.
He was certainly grinning in a way that made it look like he was a little bit surprised to be there. He's wearing the yellow shirt that comes with being the leader of the Bearing Point World Cup, and looks very happy with his progress today. You can see from the rain on the lens of that picture there that it's still a coming and going sort of day. The breeze is picking up, and there is more of a tailwind, and we can expect times to improve slightly as the day goes on. But the rainstorms, the big showers, keep sweeping across the course.
Well, of course, with all of us on Eurosport, our rowers from all around the world on worldrowing.com. Thanks for your company this morning. Do try and send us a question in. If you've got a question, we'll try to answer it. That's our info address, which is rowing@infovoice.de. And as I said, we'll try to respond to that if we can throughout the program. We're on all the way live till the end of the finals here, with, of course, the men's 8 as the final competition.
There's Denny Oswald, the president of the International Federation FISA, giving a little pat on the back to Marcel Hacker, taking the silver medal for the single sculls here today.
Yeah, hopefully Marcel and Andreas Mal will be joining us in the commentary box to give us their reflections on the opening Bearing Point World Cup regatta here in Poznan. And I have to say, Hugh, the sky's brightening.
The sky's brightening, but there's still rain on the lens. I don't think we've got away with it yet. And that's Itzhak Chop getting his umpteenth World Cup medal there in the single scull. But he's got a double life because he was Olympic champion in the double scull in Sydney. And he's also rowed a pair in the early part of his career against the great Steve Redgrave and Matthew Pinsent.
Of course, one man they don't have to worry about anymore is Rob Woodell.
No, he left to go and do America's Cup sailing and thought about a comeback, and one way and another he hasn't. And of course New Zealand isn't qualified. He comes from New Zealand, Rob Woodell, and he isn't qualified for the Olympics because they didn't have a single sculler last year, so he'd have to go through the qualification regatta to get here, and the word is that he's not bothered.
We move on now to the final of the men's pairs, and well, this is quite interesting in the sense that this is very much a race which is a pointer for the future, because we've got two German crews in here, and we're going to start at the top of the picture with Stefan Mølvig and Mads Andersen for Denmark. What's quite interesting about that is that these two men have come out of lightweight boats and are now partners in a heavyweight division. Toby Kuhn in the bow there on the right of the German pair. Sitting in front of him, Jan Herzog, who's in for Jan Westphalen, who last year that partnership actually was 16th in the men's pair for Germany, so they're obviously hoping to improve. But here are the form boys, so to speak. Sinisa Skelin and Niksa Skelin for Croatia, world silver medalists behind the excellent James Tompkins and Drew Ginn of Australia, who are keeping their powder dry. I guess we won't see them till Lucerne, which is a bit of a disappointment, but something to look forward to. And then for Serbia and Montenegro, Nikola Stojic and Mladen Stegic, who are in lane number 4, 8th and improving. Germany's second pair, Tony Seifert and Gregor Hofer, are in lane 5, 2 from the bottom of your picture. And then closest to you is going to be Slovenia's number 1 crew. Here they are, Matija Pavsic and Andrej Hrabar. They were 10th last year, and that 10th place did qualify the Slovenians a boat in this class. The Slovenians, the crew from Montenegro, Serbia, Montenegro, and the Croatians have all qualified a boat already for the Olympic Games. So interesting lineup here. You've got to say that it's the Skelin brothers they've all got to beat. The
Skelin brothers are the benchmark here. Interesting to see Mølvig and Andersen, who you referred to earlier, David, as the lightweights. The Danish lightweight men's 4, which is an Olympic event, has been the dominant for the last 10 years, with gradually changing personnel, but still significantly the strongest lightweight group. They obviously think that they can pick a 4 that can win the Olympics in Athens and from 6 men and use the other 2 in some other Olympic boat. They haven't got the heavyweights at the moment to fill all the other crews, so Mølvig and Andersen have moved up and might well qualify. The lightweight 4 in its heyday has been very close indeed to the heavyweight 4, the open weight I should say, at World Championship level, and repeatedly when Great Britain was winning the open weight 4 with Redgrave, Pinsent, Cracknell and Foster, the Danish would come to Henley and to other races like that and take them on at their own game, and would finish within 3/4 or even less of a length. So they're very, very fast at heavyweight level as well.
So here we go, the final of the men's pairs, and we're going away with the Slovenians. Slovenia in lane number, sorry, we're going away with the Croatians, I should say, in lane number 3, the Skelin brothers, and now Germany as we give you a lineup now. Closest to the picture, at the bottom of the picture, will be Slovenia. Then in lane 5, Germany, that's Seifert and Hafer. Then Serbia and Montenegro in 4, that's 3 from the bottom of your picture. Then after that, Skelling brothers, 3 from the top of your picture in a white boat, and just about moving into second place at the moment. And then Germany, Kuhn and Herzog, 2 from the top of the picture, and on the far side, Mulveg and Andersen for Denmark. And there are 2 places still to be decided, 2 qualification possibilities, and those will be decided in Lucerne just before the final World Cup regatta. And interestingly, this is one of the very few categories, the men's pair, in which Germany has not yet qualified a boat.
Curious, because they were so dominant for so many years, but there's got to be some chink in everybody's armour, and that's where it's been for Germany this time. But mind you, they didn't even qualify an 8 for the last Olympics, having dominated that for so long before. So it's a very, very tight field. The differences between winners and losers are minuscule, and I actually think that it's the Danes over on the far side who are in lane 1 who are up with the field there. And it is the Skellins now in the white boat in the middle of the picture who have moved out into a lead.
And a very good evening to you, John Boltby, down under. Gather you're with us on worldrowing.com. Good to have your company. Hope you're well. John, for those of you who are not familiar with John Boltby, former Secretary General of FISA. Matt Smith taking on that responsibility in the mid-90s, in fact after the Atlanta Olympic Games. But John, any thoughts you've got, any questions? Much appreciated. Rowing at infovoice.de is our email address. Do take advantage of it. Anyway, let's focus on the race now, and it is the Skelling brothers really who are stamping their class on this race.
By a quarter of a length of open water, with the rest of the pairs all very level. Now, this is curiously early in the season. This is what a World Championship field looks like, with 4 or 5 bow balls all within a very few feet of each other. And in this instance, the Skellins have got out in front, but nevertheless, it's a very close pack for something going on so early in the season as this.
And Sinisa, who's sitting in the bow of that Croatian pair that you can see now, of course, an Olympic bronze medalist with the Croatian 8 in Sydney. Fantastic performance behind the British 8, of course, who we're hoping, Hugh, will certainly make the final and medal. But more of that to come later. We're through 1,000 meters now, and it's, to me, the graphic there is not correct at the moment. I would ignore that on the bottom of your screen if you can see it, because it's clearly the Croatians who've got the advantage.
It may be raining further down the course, and they may not be able to see right across, but that's complete nonsense, that set of numbers, and they've taken it off the screen.
Nixa, who's the younger, he's 25 years of age, sitting on the left there. Brother Sinisa, 29. And just in second place, I can tell you now, it's the partnership from Serbia and Montenegro, Nikola Stojic and Mladen Stegic. So in a sense, the neighbours are at the moment in charge of this race. And this partnership that was 8th, in other words, didn't make the final. I said that I thought that they would improve, and this is a good sign from them.
Well, Nikola Stojic did get a silver medal in this event in Lucerne the year after the Olympics with a different partner, Georgi Vizaki, and so he's got the pedigree and the breeding to be in the front end of this kind of field.
Well, I guess James Tompkins and Drew Ginn with our worldrowing.com service can keep an eye on this. It may be a little small box, but hopefully you can see it if you are watching down there, because it's a good way to actually keep tabs on what's happening on the other side of the world. At the moment, what's happening here is that these two men are not threatened.
Not remotely. I mean, they haven't got Australia, and they haven't got the British pair, who would be probably would be right up there in this final, although maybe not so fast as Pinsent and Cracknell or Pinsent and Redgrave in their heyday. Nor have they got South Africa, who are coming up to Europe later on in the season.
Yeah, that's Donovan Ketch and Ramon Di Clemente. And also just news on Rick Dunn and Toby Garbutt. If you haven't caught up the word. Rick Dunn just a little under the weather, but hopefully they'll be back for Munich.
There's no point in coming here if you're not going to learn something and do well. And if you're struggling with illness, it's a pointless exercise, and sensible of them to stay away. The Skellins there being put under a little bit of pressure by Serbia-Montenegro, and they've closed from a quarter of a length or more of open water, and the Skellins now have the rate of stroking up at 39 strokes to the minute. So as they enter the last 250 meters, they're just coming to the 250 meter mark. The Skellins are having to push on a bit just to make sure they keep Serbia-Montenegro in their place.
But I think they will do just that. They've got enough, I think, enough to go through the gears here if they have to.
Stoic now at 42 strokes to the minute, so this is serious stuff for this early in the season. Really testing out their change of pace and their boat speed. And yes, the Skellins have held on, in fact will cross with a little bit of open water to spare, but they took a real push to do that, and it won't have been easy. Well pressed by Serbia-Montenegro.
And it is just about a length as they come up to the line, and the Skellin brothers, in fact, about 3/4 of a length over Serbia and Montenegro, and coming home in third place, Germany. This is the first of their two boats. That's Kuhn and Herzog in third place, ahead of Mulvik and Andersen. Mads Andersen, who won a gold medal in the lightweight men's pair last year. Stefan Mulvik, who won a gold in the men's lightweight four, and they finish in... I'll just confirm that they finish in fourth place. Then Slovenia, a little disappointing from Pavsic and Hraba, and Germany's second duo in sixth place. That's Seifert and Haufer.
I think for Denmark, a position 8 seconds off the leaders, the Skellin brothers, who, as I said earlier, are the benchmark in Europe for this event. That is actually quite a satisfactory result, and might give them hope that they could squeeze in a qualifying place and go, even though they're lightweights, to the Olympics. It has been done before. Before lightweights were introduced as a separate category back in 1992 in Barcelona. Stephen Hawkins and Peter Anthony, lightweight double scullers from Australia, took the Olympic championship. So you can move up, but it's hard work.
And as you see the replay through the quarters here, just to give you the splits there, Croatia with a good start, 133.87. That's a good second and a quarter ahead of their closest rivals, who were Germany then. Then 139 for the second 500, 139.93 for the third quarter, and raising it to 137.80 to hold off Serbia and Montenegro, who actually were the fastest boat on the last 500 meters in 137.65. But workmanlike, and I think they'll be pleased with that. They look as if they're pleased with it. They should be.
Oh, I think so. I mean, you don't come here to lose, and if you've got that kind of 2 seconds, that's excellent.
So I think the first two will be pretty satisfied. We're going to take a little break on Eurosport. We'll be back after this.
The Rowing World Cup is brought to you by Bearing Point.
So here the lineup for the women's double sculls, and this is one of three German crews: Peggy Roleska, who's sitting in the bow, and Kerstin Kowalski, or El Khalili, to give her full and correct married name. They are the German #1 boat, but still the building blocks and the permutations very much open to change. Britta Opelt and Mikey Evers are in lane 4, and they're Germany #2. The big news, though, in terms of women's sculling in the German division at the moment, is the absence of Catherine Boron, sidelined with a back injury. She was here, she's gone home, and that's why Britta Opelt has come into this German boat. You're looking at Bulgaria in lane 5. This is Annette Bushman and Miglena Markova. And in lane 6 now, Caroline Dilla and Guy Bounier, who are for France in lane 6, who are closest to you. Now, only 2 of these countries have qualified, only 2 of the countries in today's lineup and the final here have qualified a boat for the Olympic Games: Great Britain and Germany. But of course, who will be in those boats yet to be finalised. And the crowd certainly has cheered up here. This is a much better atmosphere than we've had at many a World Cup regatta. It's really good for us. It's very good for the athletes because they like noise. And talking to the two cats the other day, there were loads of school kids in here on the heats day, and they said they could really hear the noise, and it was encouraging.
It's a popular sport in this country, and they also still place great pride in the fact that the world has come to their doorstep, and so yeah, we're a good show in town.
We're on the Malta course in Poznan. Poznan, about an hour's flying time to the west of the Polish capital, Warsaw, or you drive from Berlin, whichever you choose. So just moments away from the start of the women's double sculls. And the ever Swindle sisters, Georgina and Caroline, of course, world champions. And I don't know whether you're with us, Georgina and Caroline, on worldrowing.com, but if you are, send us an email on rowing@infovoice.de. We'd love to hear your well, and if you've got any questions, we'll try and answer them.
I think the questions they have will be being revealed in this race in the next 6 or so minutes, 7 minutes perhaps. See the crews there just touching the boat up. Gentle breeze, hardly anything.
Germany 1, Germany 2, Bulgaria, France. Attention.
And away we go for the final of the women's double sculls, and I'll run through the lineup for you in just a moment. We're going off with one of the 3 German boats that are in this double sculls final. So Jutta Lau, the head coach of the women's group, she's going to be fascinated to see how this unfolds. In lane 5, it's Bulgaria now. Annette Jacqueline-Buschmann with Miglena Markova. Annette Buschmann was actually 15th with a different partner a year ago, or I should say last year, in the World Championships, and they've got a narrow advantage. On the bottom of the picture now, Caroline Diller and Guy Brunier, they're closest to you. Then the Bulgarians, then Germany's second crew, that's Britta Opelt and Mikey Evers, 3 from the bottom of the picture in that sort of dark brown boat. Then at the moment, Peggy Waleska and Kirstin El Khalili would just be about the slowest starters. They're in lane 3. Manuela Lutz and Christiana Huth are in lane 2, 2 from the top of the picture, and on the far side, Elise Laverick and Sarah Winkles for Great Britain, very much up with the pace.
The position that's developed here is that the 3 German doubles, obviously there are not going to be 3 German doubles at the Olympics. 2 of these doubles are going to go into the quad, and it's a great sort out, remembering that Boron is also on the scene. So we've actually got 7 athletes looking for 4 places in the quad and 2 places in the double. I don't think they know yet which is going to be the senior event, assuming all of this, that Katrin Rutschkau goes ahead in the single scull, as her emphatic win this morning demonstrated. But those German doubles all train together in squad sessions all the time, so they're completely familiar with one another. They change back and forth in different boats, and they're beginning to get back on terms after the early lead was taken by France and Bulgaria. Still in lead in lane 5 there on this side of the picture, and on the very far side, still absolutely in this field, the newcomers to the double from Great Britain, Elise Laverick and Sarah Winkles. They were both disappointed not to make the quadruple scull, which is the lead boat for the British women's sculling squad, but of settling into the double and beginning to find that they can not only enjoy it, but show a bit of pace as well. And so I think they're overcoming the disappointment of the quad and looking forward to a season in the double scull.
Yeah, they've taken over the responsibility from Debbie Flood and Rebecca Romero, who are in the quad, and I think that this is their opportunity.
And I'm sure they're beginning to see it as an opportunity, particularly as they're developing the sort of boat race, the pace that's required.
On the far side in lane number 1, but meanwhile it's 3 from the bottom of your picture, Britta Opelt and Mikey Evers, who at the moment have the advantage on the field. They've gone through to take over from Bulgaria as we're in the second quarter of the race.
Bulgaria is still in touch there, but looking a little bit laboured in the way they're sculling. It looks like it may be quite hard work for them to hold on to this sort of position through the rest of the race. The German doubles, perhaps a little bit strange just for this morning with the late changes, but nevertheless settling into some sort of race pace and pulling up into the middle pack of the field.
But Britta Opelt, who's sitting in the bow of that German scull, 26 years of age, from Berlin, and partnered Katrin Boron, who, together with Elisabeta Lipa, who you'll see in action later on because she's in the Romanian 8, arguably the two legendary women of rowing and sculling in this terrific sport. And it is, at the moment, still Britta Opelt's partner of last season, or Katrin Boron's partner of last season, Britta Opelt, who has the call with Mikey Evers. Now, Mikey Evers is pretty experienced.
So now, just a quick note for anybody who saw the graphic come up there, that was completely wrong. Great Britain was not in second place. They are in fact in sixth place as we're looking at them now, and while it's been corrected on the internal numbering machine, you were given the wrong message there.
Yes, it's Germany 2, which is Opelt and Evers, who are leading from Germany 3, that's Valeska and El Khalili, then Bulgaria, then France, Della and Bounier, and then Germany 1, Manuela Lutzer and Christiane Hood, and still Great Britain with a lot of work to do now, Hugh.
They've lost pace. They lost a lot in the second 500, and now in the third 500 they've dropped further back. But as we were saying earlier, the three German doubles, which went fairly slowly off the start and didn't get really going early on, have begun to find their pace, and of course they're racing off against one another, so they've got a certain amount to prove here. There's a good deal going on inside that German squad, and so those three doubles are now leading the race, and the others are trailing. France and Great Britain at approximately the same speed. I see Great Britain has passed France 5 or 6 seconds out on the leaders.
Yeah, France actually fading quite badly, and Great Britain just moving up one pace. But it is Germany 3-2-1 at the moment.
What we don't know about these doubles is which they want to end up in. If you thought that you could win a medal in the double, then you would be trying to win and be the first of these three here. If you thought that you might not win a medal in the double, but that the quad was certain for a medal and possibly a gold, you might be thinking, what's the best move? Do I just let it slip to second and third place? And but the answer is you've got to be tight up with the others, whatever happens.
Well, very interesting now, because Manuela Lutz and Christiane Hood are coming from behind to lead now. They put their really strong challenge in now, and they are challenging Britta Opelt and Mikey Evers very strongly, with Waleska and Kerstin Kowalski, the third German pair. They are actually at the moment solidly held in third place. Still though by not very much. It's Opelt and Evers, and they're being severely questioned now on the far side by Manuela Lutz and Christiane Hood, who seem to have the greater strength, the greater determination, higher stroke rate on the far side.
What's interesting also is Great Britain there and come up to fourth place and closing on these German crews, leaving Bulgaria and France out. The Germans neck and neck, nip and tuck.
Oh, and it's just Opelt and Evers who've held off Hoot and Lutzer, and Great Britain actually in the end finishing down in fifth place. So it's Germany 2, Britta Opelt and Mikey Evers, who narrowly get the victory ahead of Germany 3, that's Manuela Lutz and Christiane Hood. Peggy Valeska and Kerstin Kowalski finishing in third place. That's very interesting, because Peggy Valeska's her position in the quad in recent times has wavered from in and out, and I think that's a very interesting situation for her now.
We have to assume that when Katrin Boron comes back to full fitness, she will take her place sine qua non, and so it's a question which of these six gets dropped from the group. I think you may be speculating a stage too far, but we'll see.
Well, back to the start of the race there. Just to reflect on the finishing there, Hugh, you picked up the British Winkless and Laverick. Well, they did a final quarter of 1:43.99, but that wasn't quite good enough to haul themselves from 5th to 4th. Up front, though, 1:42.56 is the last quarter split for Opelt and Evers to hold off their teammates.
I'd still actually like to see the finish again, that picture. I'm not quite sure that the printed times are right, but we'll they were very close, those two, and as they came right up to the line, Great Britain was still in front of Bulgaria, so something may have happened as they crossed the line, and we might get a review of that.
Well, this is the result as given to us, and there you can see it is Opelt and Myers who've actually got Evers, who've got the victory. I said it was something of a German trial, and Jutta Lau must now make what she wants out of this.
The great thing for a coach is to have enough conflicting information that you can make up your own mind according to your own prejudices, and still be able to prove it right from the statistics. It'll be a question of who which group combines best into which boat. Mike Spracklin, world champion coach of the men's 8 and the men's coxless 4, he doesn't go straight off the figures from the top of the page. He tends to select the people who he thinks move that type of boat best, and he was quite clear that his coxless 4 and his 8 were equal, as indeed they proved when they both won gold medals. But I'm sure that Jutta Lau's job will be to select the people most compatible with each other and most best fitted to the quadruple scull, which is a very fast boat, fast moving boat, and to the double, which is slightly heavier, but still one of the sweetest boats to move when it's going well.
Medal ceremony in progress now for the men's pairs. The Skelling brothers getting their Bearing Point World Cup gold medals. And next race to come up will be the men's double sculls. A good lineup: Norway, Great Britain, Germany, Estonia, Hungary and Poland. Be particularly interesting to see Akos Haller and Tibor Pito, former world champions who had a horrible season last year, to see what sort of comeback they're going to launch today. Poland, local interest, Adam Wojciechowski and Michał Jelinski, two 24-year-old promising Poles in their boat. They're outsiders, but of course in front of your home ground, you're always going to strive to do your very best. Estonia with another final crew here, Leonid Gulov and Tonu Endreksen. Will they be inspired with Yuri Jansen's success in the men's single sculls? Germany got Rennie Bertram and Christian Schreiber getting ready for them. And Great Britain, Matt Wells and Matthew Langridge, two of our most promising young scullers to represent Great Britain. They're going to be in lane 2, and Niels Simonsen and Morten Gundro for Norway are going to be on the far side in lane 1. That's the men's double sculls, which is due off at 15 minutes past the hour, wherever you are in Europe or the rest of the world. Thanks for joining us, Hugh Matheson and myself, David Goldstrom. As you can see, this Malta stand there, pretty packed in this wonderful leisure park, even though it is a chilly, grey Sunday morning. And there are the crews on the pontoons for the start of the men's double sculls. For those of you with us on Eurosport, you can see Viorica Susano and Giorgietta Andronacci, or Damian, getting their gold medals from winning the women's pairs early on. Kath Bishop and Kath Granger. We'll be hopefully hearing from them very shortly when they've put the boat away and sorted themselves out and made their way up to the commentary position. Well, you join us once again live now for this men's double scull, and here are the local boys. Actually, they're not from Poznan, they're from different parts of Poland. Bocinowski and Jelinski, who are closest to you. Two from the bottom of your picture are the Hungarians, Haller and Pito. You're looking at René Bertram, and sitting in front of him, Christian Schreiber, who represent Germany here in the final of this men's double sculls. And to their right in lane 2 are Matthew Wells and Matthew Langridge for Great Britain. And then furthest away will be Simonsen and Morten Gundro for Norway. They're right on the far side in lane number 1. What we can tell you, though, is that all the nasty conditions of the past couple of days, which particularly on repechage day made the course singularly unfair, well, none of that today. There should be no excuses.
There is a bit of a gentle breeze following the cruise from the start to the finish, and as I look across the course, the flags are picking up and there is a ripple on the water, and I think as we said earlier, it will be gradually getting faster as the day goes on. You row, even though it's very uncomfortable and people don't like it, you row fastest in warm weather when the muscles are warm, and there is an issue here about whether or not it's just a little bit chill for perfect conditions. It's 14 degrees centigrade according to the scoreboard, but it certainly doesn't feel that when you're sitting still here.
So, bottom of the picture, closest to you, Poland. 2 from the bottom, Haller and Pito, former world champions for Hungary. 3 from the bottom, that's Estonia, Gulov and Hendrickson for Estonia. Then Germany, then Matt Wells. 2 from the top of the picture with Matthew Langridge, and furthest away are Norway. And away we go with René Bertram in the bow seat, Christian Schreiber in the stroke seat. And good start.
47 strokes a minute they were going off the start there in the wind-up phase, and they'll keep this going for quite a while. Double sculls, you want to keep the rate high, you want to stay on top of it, you want to tap it along, you don't want to let it get heavy, and these scullers will probably go over between 34, 35 strokes a minute unless one of the crews gets far away and can really settle down and grind it out. But it's a tappy boat that you sit up on top of and keep the rate and keep the strokes coming through.
Now the Estonians, they've got the advantage. There's the bow of their boat. This is Leonid Gulov. He's in the bow seat. Sitting in front of him, Tonu Hendrickson. Now both these men were 7th as part of the Estonian quad last year.
The quad is a great training ground for double scullers. Lots of them. If you come from a country with a big enough quad, a big enough group, then you can come up through the quad and you learn an awful lot about racing, and mostly you learn about high speed. Moving the hands fast, moving all the limbs, really tapping it on and driving it. And it's a very useful training boat for the double scull.
So just about in the lead at the moment, Estonia, but going with them, Germany. And let's talk a little bit about Matthew Wells and Matthew Langridge. Matthew Wells from Bradford, Hexham, and now down south. Matthew Langridge from Cheshire.
The trail is wrong there, that they are not in front, but they're close up in lane 2, and they have pushed their bow balls in front, but they weren't when it was shown on the trail.
But what I was going to say here was Matthew Wells, who was first in the single sculls in the national trials, Matthew Langridge, who was runner-up in the national trials. Here they are teamed up together. 2 very promising oarsmen.
I think promising is you know, they're further on than that. They've matured. They've won their juniors some years ago. They've come up through the system, and here they are leading this crew. Now, they're looking very strong, and on top of it, a little bit worried. Matt Wells always looks a bit worried, looking around to see how they're going. But they should be looking to their left, not to their right, because it's lane 3, the Germans, that have now just overtaken them. But this is excellent race positioning in the second 500 meters.
Yeah, Matthew Langridge in the stroke seat, the first Briton to ever win the Junior World Single Sculls in 2001. So I suppose that's where I should apply the promise to, because now he's already delivered by working his way into this World Cup final with his partner of today, Matthew Wells.
It's a fast-moving race, this, and now we've got lane 1. We've got the Norwegians coming through to take the lead. Those 3 crews on the far side are definitely moving on, cracking on through 1,000 meters. Oh no, they're not. They're just coming to the 1,000-meter mark, but that's pretty reasonable for this stage in the season to be going that kind of speed. 3:06.
Yes, and very, very close between the first three crews. Estonia, after that good start in the first quarter now, just finding the pace a little too hot to live with. And it is Germany closest due, then Great Britain, the meat in the sandwich, who are just about third at the moment, with on the top of the picture, it's Niels Simonsen and Morten Gundro for Norway. And they're very, very keen, the Norwegians, to actually get this boat through to the Olympic Games as a qualifying boat. As I said earlier, they've only got Tufte in the single scull. Now, what they've been talking about is where they're going to go after June the 20th, after Lucerne. They're going to go to Bulgaria. Before that, they're going to take in the Amsterdam Regatta. And what they don't want, and what Tufte doesn't want, is to be on his own in a training camp. Whether they qualify or not, these boys are going to go and work with him, but it would be so much better if they could actually qualify and all three of them are going to Athens.
It certainly will be, but if they've got to come up to the sort of racing pitch that they do qualify through the qualifying regatta before Lucerne, which is in the beginning of the second week of June, they will have to reconstruct their training program for the season and treat it differently, and that will be quite a challenge to come back up again. You've got to peak twice late in the season, and it's hard going. Now, as it happens, it's the Bertram and Schreiber double from Germany that is definitely out in the lead now, with Great Britain in second place, and the Norwegians have slipped back to fourth possibly, because it looked like the Estonians had come up back onto terms with them.
So just the last quarter to go. Just having a look at the qualification possibilities here. Again, it's in the men's double. There are 3 places up for grabs in Lucerne.
Still too tight for comfort. The Norwegians will have to peak for that race. Whether they choose to race later on in the week or the following weekend in the main World Cup regatta is a matter for them, but it is very difficult to come back and then wind down and build back up again for the Olympics, and they'll find themselves on a different cadence from Tufte in training.
Coming now to 250 meters, and it's still pretty tight out there in lane number 3, though it is Germany, still René Bertschan and Christian Schreiber, who've done all the hard work really, because they've been out in front for pretty well the majority of the race, and they are commanding it at the moment. Great Britain still challenging, and also Norway on the far side, and also moving up now Estonia, trying to remount their challenge, and in fact Estonia finishing really strongly. It is Germany. Estonia moving into second place with a real flourish towards the line. Great Britain have dropped back into third place. Norway fading into fourth. As they come across the line, it is René Bertschan, Christian Schreiber, who take it from Gulov and Hendrickson of Estonia, with Matthew Wells and Langridge. Matthew Langridge in third place, then Simonsen and Gudro for Norway, and Poland, Wojciechowski and Jelinski overtaking Haller and Pito to push the former world champions down into 6th place.
They were world champions in 01 and 02, so this is that's a benchmark for this event too. These 5th place, 4 crews in front of them, going really well. That was quite a hot race, that. And very interesting from the Wells and Langridge point of view. They didn't manage in their final sprint to get the change of pace and to really drive it through the line in the way the other 2 crews did, but that's something you can learn. They've got the mid-race pace they need.
Also, all of these crews will be aware that 2 very important men weren't in this race, Sébastien Viardon and Adrien Hardy, the defending world champions, who actually were racing here in the singles but didn't qualify. But I think they will have been very interesting viewers on the side of the regatta course as to this race.
There are no guarantees coming out of this. The 3 medalists from last year, France, Italy and Czech Republic, were not present. I just suggest that was within the event, was quite fast, and shows that it's a very closed up event. You can win it, but by a very small margin, and you can be very close to the winners and still be right down the field in 6th place, or even in the small final down as low as 10th. They're all much the same speed, and it's a question of how well you time your season so that you come up for the Olympic final. That's the one that matters, and these are all important build-up races, but they're not the crucial one.
I think something that might be a bit crucial here, I mentioned 3 places, and we were talking about the Norwegians not qualifying. Of course, this is again a boat class, only 2 boat classes in which Germany has not qualified for the Olympic Games. The reason for the delight, Rennie Bertram and Christian Schreiber, is because that will have done a power of good to convincing the powers that be in German rowing to maintain them in the boat, to give them a chance to go to Lucerne and earn their Olympic places.
Certainly will. It was the twilight of a great German scholar, Andreas Haljek, the twilight of his career, that it all came unstuck at the end of last year, and they didn't qualify, as you say, after he'd won innumerable medals in quadruple and double sculls for Germany over the years. And so these guys, the new kids on the block, have got to climb this mountain, and they've started very well indeed.
And on picture now, the medal presentation for the German national championships. Germany occupying all 3 positions on the podium for the final of the women's double sculls, but it was Britta Opelt and Mikey Evers who just prevailed there. They're wearing the Bearing Point yellow bibs as the owners of 8 World Cup points towards Germany's quest to maintain their dominance in the World Cup season. They're very much the nation to beat.
Certainly, but as we said, 4 of these will end up in a quad, with or without Catherine Boron. 2 of these will end up in double sculls, so they've got their crew sculling squad on view, and it may not have been the German national championships, it was rather their trials, and that's exactly what World Cup racing is for. It's find out your race pace, find out the tactics that suit you best, and develop. And I think Jutta Lauer will have been watching that with not all of her attention concentrated on the result, much more to see how well they went together, how they responded to certain situations in the course. You can see from the flags behind the crews standing there that the breeze is picking up a bit, and it's actually getting quite a lot stronger than it was earlier in the day, and the times will be dropping now, as this is a very, it's all assist, this wind.
Just to remind you of the point scoring system in the Bearing Point World Cup regattas. A winning crew takes 8 points, runner-up is 6, then 5 for third, fourth gets 4 points, fifth, third, 3 points, sixth gets 2 points, and there's a point for the winner of the B final. Well, we're going to take a short break on Eurosport. Stay with us, though. Indeed, stay with us if you're with us. In the stroke seat, Alex Partridge, then Steve Williams and Ed Code in the bow. Of course, Ed Code already with 2 World Championship gold medals at home from 99 and 2001 as a member of the 4. And, of course, 4th in the Olympic Games for Greg Searle at Sydney. So the lineup here for the final of the men's 4. We're looking at Slovenia at the moment. Slovenia 6th in the world last year, 3 of the crew returning, and in lane number 6 closest to you, the same quartet for Russia that actually finished in 8th place. So the full lineup of the crews as you see them. Bottom closest to you, Russia. 2 from the bottom of your picture is Slovenia. Great Britain are in 4, then in lane 3 Germany, of course world champions 2 seasons ago. Then Denmark are to their right. It's the same quartet that finished 12th a year ago, and a new entry, the Dutch have got a 4 in, and they are furthest away. But here are the British 4, who I guess are the most talked about 4, certainly in Great Britain, maybe not in Germany, but certainly in Great Britain with all the changes. Is this our lead boat?
It's definitely intended to be our lead boat, and I'm quite sure they are talked about in Germany, because Germany, with their bronze medal 4 from last year, is one of the key players. They won in 2002 in Seville, and they slipped back to 3rd place when Canada suddenly appeared out of the blue and won last year, with Great Britain taking the silver medal. So the Brits and what they do is very important to Germany. And of course the German coach Jürgen Grobler, who leads the British team, he has made all the decisions that have led to this, and some of this will be being picked up, I'm quite sure, on the continent. So this race is going to be a real eye-opener for several crews here.
Slovenia getting better all the time. The two brothers, Mia and Tomáš Piri in this boat. It's Mia in the stroke seat, and Gregor Šaněk in 3, Tomáš Piri in 2, and Janeš Kamenčić in the bow. Germany, Bernd Heidegger, Sebastian Thormann, Paul Dienstbach and Philipp Steuer are the quartet. Interesting about them, do they overanalyze themselves? It's a question we'll be putting to Andreas Maul, who's the coach of Marcel Hacker, because he had a thought that that might be the case.
That they lacked confidence when they first appeared on the scene, and then they built up, and when they won in 2002 it appeared that they'd overcome all of those problems, and it all slightly unraveled last year, and so they may well need some help in building their sense that they are winners and can be winners here. There's Matthew Pinsent in stroke, Alex Partridge 3, Steve Williams and Ed Code in the picture there going off, and they are now in well, they're in the leading pack, second up from the bottom of the picture as we look at them. Ed Code sitting up in the bow seat there. Now they've moved forward into the lead. They came through in 3 or 4 strokes there. That was a devastating push from 3rd place to 1st place, just straight through. So lane 6 at the bottom of the picture. Then we have Slovenia, and then we see Matthew Pinsent in the middle of the picture there, 3rd up from the bottom, above the name Camelot, the sponsor, and moving around the boat to Ed Code and out to show that they have a 1/4 of a length, or a bit under a 1/4 of a length, lead over the field. Sandwiched between Slovenia and Germany.
Yeah, this is the way that the British four likes to go. It's a domination that really serves them well. They like to send this message out, and there you can see Matthew Pinsent leading Great Britain through the first quarter, but being shadowed there by the German four in that very distinctive pink boat, so always easy to pick their crew out.
And Matthew is somebody who likes to race from the front, and then he's a bit of a showman. He doesn't necessarily like to build up too much of a lead, and so he is one of those racers that if it goes wrong and he's too far behind, the tactics come rather less easily to him. He much prefers to be the dominant player.
124.86 for the first quarter, 125.31 for Germany. Just behind them, Slovenia 3rd, Denmark, the Netherlands and Russia in 6th place. Question in from John Boltby about the weather.
Well, he's asking whether or not the wind, which looks directly tail from here, could be uneven across the course. And the answer is that I haven't had an athlete up in the box here with a grievance to tell, so I would guess that it's probably fairly even. This course hasn't got a reputation for being fair on one side or the other. It is equally open all around, and the wind looks fairly straight, so I would guess that the results are not impacted by that tailwind. I think it's just improving things for everybody.
Well, Hugh, joining us now in the commentary position, Andreas Maul, who's the personal coach to Marcel Hacker, and he'll have a very good view about this German four as we come to the 1,000 meter mark. Andreas, thanks for joining us. How do you see the race at the moment?
Thanks for the invitation, David, and hello to the Eurosport fans. I'm happy to be here. Yeah, that's what you said, you guys. You know that British, they like to lead the pack, and I think the Germans, they will battle it out on the 3rd 500. So I think now the race is getting to the important spot at this moment. And to ask about a question from John Boltby. Hey John, how are you? From here, from our side, Marcel said in his race that the wind is quite differently turning on the course, so it's not clear coming down from one side. It's turning the first 500, the second 500, so we see how this works, but I think it's not unfair. I mean, it comes maybe a bit from the side, but it's not unfair, and it's quite good rowable.
Andreas, just one quick question on this. We were talking the other day about last year's World Championship final where Germany were pushed back to 3rd place. You had a thought that sometimes the German crew just think a little bit too much about everything.
I think the Germans this year, they changed a bit their thing. They focus more, I think, on the Olympics and to perform the cruise over the season. and not right now at the moment. I mean, you have to be in the pack, otherwise you won't make it at the end. But you have to be close, but it's not necessary, I think, to win every race. We saw that before in the men's single. Maybe it works that you make it, maybe not, but it's all close, and that makes rowing interesting at the moment.
Fine, we'll come back for your analysis in a moment. Let's go into the last quarter of the race, and it is Great Britain who've got a good advantage, 131.45 for that third quarter there for Great Britain. Germany 131.51, so they're almost matching each other in terms of boat speed, and Slovenia 131.45. So three boats are really hammering away.
The British crew was just had a little gain on them made by the Germans in the middle of the third 500, but they stretched it out again, so they were slightly further ahead in the third than they had been at 1,000 meters, and they're looking very confident now. The little bit of distress you can see on their faces is exactly what they expect. Matthew wouldn't want to be here if he wasn't feeling that distress, and I would expect them to hold on pretty well. Steve Williams in the 2 seat, you can see him, he's grimacing there as well, but he's absolutely one of the toughest guys around, and he will not relinquish this lead easily.
So Matthew Pinsent, the IOC member, he's really asking the questions of his crew there. Triple Olympic gold medalist, 10 times a world champion. But look on the near side, look at the Slovenians. They're coming really quickly. This is the Pira brothers, and they are trying to move themselves up into certainly a podium position. But it is Matthew Pinsent sitting behind him on the 3 seat. Alex Partridge, the man who was born in San Francisco. Then it's Steve Williams, then it's Ed Code. About 5 strokes to go to the line. Germany in second place, Slovenia third. Slovenia being challenged on the far side by Denmark in lane 2. Had a very fast third quarter there. Also close up are the Russians, who are moving as well. The Netherlands on the far side, but it is Great Britain who get there ahead of Germany and Slovenia. And that, Hugh, was an absolutely cracking race. It was a full-on race.
Very emphatic. They were 1.56, well, 1 second 0.56 ahead at halfway, and then 2:12. So they opened out an extra half second over that last 500 meters, improving their gap all the way. A very, very impressive performance by them. And characteristically, Matthew there just puffing a little bit, but still paddling on, determined not to show how knackered he is by that finish.
Let's bring Andreas in for his thoughts on that. Andreas, cracking race.
Hey David, I'm thinking what happens when the Canadians and the US coming back, you know, like in Lucerne, hopefully maybe in Munich. I heard that they come to Munich, so that's quite getting interesting how this works out. But congratulations to Jürgen, he did a great job. He had some problems there with James Cracknell, but you know, you can see how he fits the guys into the boat that each can row to the other, so it's quite interesting. We'll see how the 8 goes at the last race, but now we have to continue first that.
And your thoughts for the German 4? Here we are going off the start again.
I mean, the Germans, I did some races also over 6Ks and things in the past week, so I think they come up, but at the moment it looks really dominating. And as we saw it in the third 5, the Germans were coming back into the race to make it, but then they were clever, and Matthew, he did it really clever. He was just on the point, on the spot to respond that made it at the end. So when they came in for the fourth 500 for the last 5, then he made it, you know, with his experience.
Yeah, and this is why he's a triple Olympic gold medalist and 10 times a world champion.
That's exactly right. That makes it. That's the feeling. That's the point when you have to make it.
And with all the chopping and changing, Hugh, this is going to give great confidence to the British camp, isn't it?
It certainly will. But Ed Code, you can see him sitting in the bows there. He fits that crew absolutely perfectly. And, I mean, you know, it's bad luck on him that James Cracknell is waiting to come back in, because they are, in this context, that they fit like gloves extremely well. And there they are paddling down in front of us now, not on the picture, but they look completely relaxed. And Matthew, who had a horrendous season last year, he lost in the World Cup. He didn't make a medal for the first time in his life ever in Milan in the World Championships, and now he's back, and there he is raising his fist as they cross the line there. He's back where he thinks he belongs, and where I'm afraid the rest of the world has got used to him belonging.
Then it's quite interesting that the Germans had changed their position in the straight 4, so that Philipp Stür was now sitting in the bow, yeah. And maybe that makes a bit of a difference at the end when the real battle is on between the third and the last 5. We'll see how that goes. Maybe they change it for Munich, maybe they leave it like that, I don't know.
Men's double sculls. Now, success for Germany.
Yeah, but they had quite problems, as we remember last year, and they performed a new crew out of the 3 doubles they had last year, and it seems that it works. But guys, be careful, you know, we are missing the Italians, we are missing the Australians, some crews are coming back, so it's a great thing for them here, for the young guys. I mean, not young, they were all world champions in the quad, you know, like Bertram, he was world champion in the quad, and also Schreiber, so they are experienced, but they are on the track now, and we'll see how it goes on the next stages.
And it's one of the 2 boat classes which Germany's yet to qualify a boat in, so they will have really been boosted by this.
Exactly, they have to qualify the pair and the double in the CERN before the international regatta this season for the Olympics. See how that goes.
Just let's go back a little bit earlier in the morning with Marcel. How do you and he feel about the race at the end of the first World Cup regatta?
I think he was a bit at the second 500 this morning. He was a bit too careful, maybe a bit, but you never know by the wind conditions. Maybe it was a bit cross, so advantage, disadvantage, I don't know. But he was a bit not afraid, but he was a bit relaxed in the second 5, and he didn't know really where he was. Remember last year in Milan when he was catched at the finish line, and I told him before, that's an open race, everything can happen. I mean, we saw it in the semi-finals. It's always worse to look to the races before, and there we could see that it's quite open, you know. And you never know, because Job, he's on the way to the double, maybe, who knows. And they all build it up for the Olympics, the big guys in the single. So it's not surprising for us. It was a good result. You saw the pack, they were all together at the line, so it's quite getting interesting.
How surprised, impressed were you with Yuri Janssen actually taking the victory?
That was quite not surprising. I mean, we saw yesterday also the semi, but as he made it in that way, that's really good.
So
but
there's still hope for the 40-somethings.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. That's what we said before by the straight 4, you know, the experience that counts at the end. We saw that by Matthew in the race before, and we also saw it by Yuri.
Just pause for a second, Andreas, because we're going to introduce now the final of the women's lightweight double sculls. Of course, an Olympic boat class. And in the lineup here, at the bottom of your picture, well, we're going to go the other way. Denmark, this is Juliana Rasmussen and Johanna Thomsen, who are furthest away in lane number 1. This partnership, who were 11th in the World Championships a year ago. And sitting next to them, Poland, Magdalena Chemnitz and Ilona Mokranowska. Now, Magdalena's just 19, local from Poznan. She's on the right, sitting in the bow. Ilona Mokranowska, she's been looking for a new partner. She was silver medalist in the World Championships a couple of years ago in the lightweight double sculls with Demianuk, who's how can I say it? Had a potato or two too many at the moment. But it's given a chance to Chemnitz. Then Romania, Constanta Bocica, big favourite of mine, of course, Olympic champion herself in Atlanta and also in Sydney with Kamila Milanicia. And then Germany, Daniela Reimer and Claudia Blasberg. Claudia Blasberg, who was partnered by Marie-Louise Dreger last year to victory in the World Championships. And sitting next to them in the classic orange of Holland, Marit van Eupen, she's in the bow. Kirsten van der Kolk in the stroke seat. And completing the lineup in lane 6, it's Li Quan for China. I'll just pause there till they move across and show us the Chinese, because I think this is a key boat for the Chinese and a key person. Li Quan, who's in the bow, with Zhu Zhongjiang, who's in the stroke seat. Now, Quan was a gold medalist in the Chinese lightweight quadruple scull last year, and they're all about 20, these Chinese women. There's 11 of them here, and I think this is the main target boat for them to progress with. So that's the lineup for the women's lightweight double scull. So, of course, the average weight of these two could not exceed more than 57 kilos.
David, what is interesting that the Germans, we have it right in the picture, that they changed after the heat. So Daniela Reimer, she's new and she's the spare, and originally is Marie-Louise Dreger in there, or Janetra Dünsel, who's racing another double. So she's injured at the moment, but she's coming back. So we have to be careful, and it's getting interesting how it works in the race.
Well, it's in a sense, I mean, that's that if you're Germany, where you've got this strength and depth, I mean, you really have to earn your place. As we saw just earlier on in the double sculls, Germany 1, 2 and 3, but we've got not a clue what Juta's going to make of that. That's what really makes it so fascinating.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the Germans, they have really a second and a third double, and also behind that they start now to build it up after the Olympics, the whole procedure, that some might stop from the experienced guys, and like Andreas Hayek did this week, and so Claudia Basbeck, she also thinks about continuing or not, and so they have to build some other athletes up. But it's quite interesting that they let them race in different combinations, you know, not only the aim to win it, to make it, just to think about some other things and to make it interesting also to the other athletes.
Now, I know you were concentrating obviously with Marcel. I don't know whether you had a chance to see Katrin Rutschau's race at all, or any of it.
No, not sorry.
Because it looked very good.
I know she's in really good form, and she fits in. She's also coached by Jutta Lau now, so she fits in the whole women's program, women's scull program in Potsdam, and she's quite happy with that. And also everybody knows Jutta, she's experienced enough, and she's really on fire. All races she's following, and she's incredible.
But our feeling is that Katrin really wants to race the single in Athens.
No doubt about that.
So away we go, and it's from the bottom of the screen, China closest to you, then those orange rests of Holland, two from the bottom of your picture, then Germany, Daniela Reismer and Claudia Blasberg, then in lane 4, sorry, you can just see the bow of their boat, Germany vying with the Chinese. Quick start by Li Quan and Zhu Zhongjiang, and those two at the moment have the advantage. Also up with the pace, two from the top of the picture, Poland, and that's Magdalena Chemnitz and Ilona Mokranowska. Now the Polish have already had a success. That was right early in the beginning of the day, Hugh, because they had the lightweight women's single scull.
That means they've got 3 in this category, this weight, from whom to pick an Olympic boat. These two have obviously made the choice at this stage because they are the selected pair. But Julia Michalska, who won the single scull, was very impressive this morning and will be knocking at the door if this double does not succeed emphatically today.
And there they are, the Polish duo. On the right there, the youngster, just 19 years of age, from Poznan. So you can be rest assured that her family and friends are here with their fingers crossed as we come through the first quarter. And again, pretty tightly packed. Only really the Danes, Rasmussen and Thompson, at the top of your picture there, just a little bit worryingly off the pace. But near side, close to you, the Chinese. Now, whatever they do here, they will do. Or I was going to say, whatever they do in Athens, they will do better in Beijing.
Yes, I mean, if they're building a squad, although how many of these will still be there then? But at 20, maybe this is the beginning of their career, as you suggest. The Romanians still there, closing a little bit, but it's curiously the Poles who are still making all the running in this race.
Well, I'll reserve judgment on Constanta Bocica because her style of racing is to establish the rhythm and then start to move in the middle 1,000. So I'm just going to bide my time here. They're in lane number 3 at the moment. They're not making the headlines, but I wouldn't write them off at the moment because they're too experienced. They were bronze medalists last year in the World Championships, which was, by their standards, something of a setback. But Mihalica is the new partner, really, with Bocica.
It's also Blasberg's style to set the rhythm and settle down, and they've been very steady in the middle there while these two crews have slightly flashed ahead on either side of them.
And now things are beginning to happen. Have a look at this. You can see now the Romanians beginning to find their stride, beginning to find their rhythm, and very soon you're going to see them a real force and a presence. Meanwhile, the Chinese on difficult angle actually to judge this at the moment. Just really need to keep straight across the lead bows as we come through to the end of the first half.
Yeah, we have to be careful with the TV catamarans running them, that nobody really has a disadvantage. So sometimes it's a bit strange from the angle, but I mean, that's rowing. We can't work it out in another way, you know. So, but now it's getting interesting in the race how the Romanians make it and build it up, and how Blasberg she goes with the other partner. So now the race is coming to the real positions.
Yeah, this is getting pretty interesting now, but still the Poles. Ilona Mokranowska, not to be underestimated, because when I said in the introduction, she got the silver medal in the lightweight double a couple of seasons ago. I mean, she brings a lot of experience to this.
Certainly does, and they're still, I mean, they're now deep into the third 500. They're sculling at 35.5 strokes per minute, which is a little bit high compared to the others. But if you're on a tailwind and in a double that's on top of its work and not too heavily geared, you can go at 35, and they're looking quite comfortable. They're looking very good.
But now Claudia Blasberg and Daniela Reimer beginning to assert themselves in the third quarter there. At the moment, look to be the fastest moving boat, and Germany just nudging ahead of Poland. But it would be nice to see this picture just widen out to see the other contenders here, particularly China, and to see whether the Romanians are making any further progress.
That's why Claudia is so successful in rowing, because she knows exactly at which spots she has to make it or to try to make it, and we'll see how that goes. But we can see that the field comes together again. So now it's getting interesting.
Fantastic last 500 from Claudia last year to take the world title. It was one of the best races of the whole regatta. But here in lane 5, you can see the Netherlands always late finishers in Marit van Eupen and Kirsten van der Kolk now moving into what would be bronze medal position, and still the Romanians with a lot of work to do. And the Chinese, well, I've got the Romanians actually look to me more like in 4th place than the Chinese. But we'll have to wait and see until we get another wider shot of the regatta course. They're still just out of our view. We just can't actually quite see them at the moment as they move down with about 350 meters to go. Poland on the far side, Germany on the near side, bow of Holland. There's Romania vying for that 3rd place. China fading. Denmark yet to get into it now, and there's a real battle on now. Constanta Bucica, of course, looking for in Athens a triple gold medal, 3 consecutive gold medals. That's always a hard call, but I must say I'm really impressed with Claudia Blasberg, looking very solid, nice form, vertical, not a lot of horizontal movement. The shape in the boat's nice, and Germany now doing their best work where it matters most, at the business end of the race. And this is where they've found pace to the race, and they go through now with about 250 meters to go, and I don't think they're going to get caught now. This is a very solid piece of rowing. They're very clear. They look left, they look right, and 36 they're up to now, and they've got almost a length over the Dutch. The Dutch coming into 2nd place. Romania trying to take that 3rd place away from Poland. The crowd really getting behind all of these crews now. Germany leading, Poland trying to raise their game again, but it is by half a length that Germany have the call. It's going to be a real dash for the places. Germany are going to get the victory as they come to the line. Romania might even squeak into 2nd place ahead of the Dutch, who are at the bottom of your picture. It's Germany 1, Holland 2. Oh, photograph for 3rd place. Is it Romania or is it Poland? I guess if you're a local fan, you're going to hope that it's Poland.
Then remember how this went up, how this lightweight women's double in the past years, how it progressed the whole series. It was really worth to take that into the Olympic program, I think.
Yeah, great racing, great excitement, and of course the wonderful thing about lightweight rowing is the even base on which everybody competes. And well, she looks really pleased, and so she should be, because what we saw there with Daniela was that pace in the last 500, Andreas.
That's exactly right. And what they did also, they tried another boat construction. That's all in our mind, you know, also by Marcel and the other crews, to have the real material for the things which can happen, which should not happen, but which can happen in Athens, as we saw by the juniors. Here we see the start again, David.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with this sort of killer pace that this particular boat, and particularly Claudia, she's really comfortable with coming off a fairly hard pace and finding more.
You know that she was, after the season, on holiday with her boyfriend, going up to Kilimanjaro. You know these things? She's really mad, yeah.
Well, I think there's so many people I know who've climbed Kilimanjaro. It must be the most climbed mountain in the world, I think.
Only by rowers. You were talking there about boat construction, taking account of the Skinias Lake in Athens, and although it's not rough by that standard, it's a little bit roughing up here, and you're testing, the German team is testing the way.
There you can see the wing rigger construction, you know.
Yes.
And they think about the wing rigger or using the other boat, and that's the point of stabilizing the boat in the rough conditions, you know. So you have to find it out, even with the light guys, like with the lighty girls. at which moment the boat is moving to the right or to the left side, and which way they want to handle it. Also, the British crews like Jürgen, he's also performing with his crews and thinking about solutions, you know.
But you've built in a major amount of design effort to counteract the possibility of high winds in Skineas, which, after all, it is the high wind season, isn't it? And it's an exposed course.
We had the prognostics were a bit similar to Sydney, but when we came to Sydney, as we remember, it was really flat out. And by the canoeing afterwards, we had the drama, you know. So yes. You never know, but you have to be prepared, you know.
Let me just confirm the result there. Romania getting third place, but only by a whisker from Poland. Netherlands, the runners-up, and Germany, the victory. Last quarter for Germany, 1:43.89. Well, here's a very pleasant sight for us. Sorry if we hog the limelight here, but it's very good news to see Britain's four back on top, even though it's early in the season, even though it's only a stepping stone regatta, but huge confidence there, and particularly for Matthew Pinsent. You could see the delight there, Hugh, in taking this win.
Matthew doesn't lack confidence because he's always been a winner. Last year completely didn't derange him, but he had to think quite hard and deeply about what was going on. Got back into training, trained hard through the winter, then missed the trials with a viral tonsillitis, and so there was a great deal of uncertainty that needed to be resolved, and to get back into your old trade and carry on a performance as experienced, but as also just as plain tough as that, will make him feel tremendously better about the approach to the Olympics.
We talked about how valuable Ed Code is, but a word on Alex Partridge.
Well, he's new. He was just made the 8 a couple of seasons ago, and you know, he was on the borderline, and was he going to make the grade or not? And as happens in every generation, there are 2 or 3 who just move on up, and for whom the ceiling is always higher. You get people who start at the same level and then they just stop. They don't get on. He's one of those who's gone right to the top level and looked completely assured and comfortable, although you know, he's giving away more than 10 years to Matthew, and just looked completely assured and comfortable in the 3-seat behind him, and as did indeed Steve and Ed Code. Ed's been there before, but one of them is going to have to make way for James Cracknell.
Andreas, just as we see the last of the medals here to the Slovenians, good performance by them. They're obviously to be respected as well.
Even for such a small country, David, you know, when you think about it, that they have also at this weekend really good juniors joining the party in Munich at the big junior regatta, and even the brother, the young brother, is 15-year-old from the partner from Itztor Kopp, from Lukas Bick. He's coming back in the double, I think, to Munich, both guys together. He's racing really good at the junior competitions. What I want to say is that they have in Bled a really good construction. The coaches, they are really enthusiastic about rowing, you know.
It begs the question. I mean, this is actually a lovely facility. Okay, the wind is something we have to live with, but it's developed into a lovely facility here. I mean, goodness gracious me, Bled is a wonderful facility. Why aren't we going to Bled? Because I'm sure we get a fantastic welcome and a good crowd in Bled.
I think that's what we have to think about it, and that's what the first step FISA did, that we went to Poznan. Maybe next time we went to Bled, and next year we go to, that's really good that we go also to Great Britain, you know, to Eton, to take that chance, and I think that makes it interesting. I mean, Lucerne, that's awesome to everybody, the Roadsee, but we have to have other ideas in the way of that.
But atmosphere and crowd and noise is important to competitors.
Yeah, that's what I said, and like that's the way how Marcel did his medal at Sydney. I told him, you know, when you come to the crowd after 12:50, 7:50 to go, that's where you have to make it, and that's why you went back to the race, as we remember, and that's because of the crowd, you know, and that's what the top athletes, that's what they're like.
We're looking at the lineup here for the start of the lightweight men's double sculls. You just saw the Czechs who are in lane 1. Lane 2, of course, Manuel Bremer and Ingo Euler. We'll talk about them in a minute. Let's catch up here. Pascal Touron and Frédéric Dufaux for France. They're in lane number 3. French who were 4th a year ago in the World Championships. Denmark represented in lane number 4 by Mads Rasmussen and Rasmus Quist. And then for Hungary in lane... pause a moment while we just concentrate on the Danes. Danish partnership, who were 8th in the world a year ago. And of course the lightweight men's double sculls won by one of the great partnerships, Elia Luini and Leonardo Pettinari at the World Championships. And I think we're all looking forward to them. Whether we see them in Lucerne, well, I'm sure we'll see them in Lucerne. Whether we see them in Munich, we don't yet know. Then in lane number 5, the Hungarian Zsolt Hurling, who's just 19, sitting in front of the stroke seat was Thomas Varga. But in fact, we've gone down to Belgium now, Justin Gerbat and Wouter van der Freinen, if I've got that right. If I haven't, send me an email on rowing@infovoice.de if the pronunciation is incorrect, and we'll happily do something about it. So, bottom of the screen, Belgium. 2 from the bottom, Hungary. Then Denmark in 3. 3 from the top of the screen in the white boat, that's France. Germany 2 from the top of the picture. And the Czech Republic, Malecek and Vabrusek on the far side.
David, interesting is that the Germans, they changed the spot, so now not Manu Bremer is on stroke. The coaches, they decided to take Ingo Euler on stroke. See how that goes.
Yeah, this is a pair that haven't quite delivered yet.
That's exactly right, but you know, there are not so many options in that way by the sculling in Germany. They are sitting on that boat, they want to have that boat, they want to perform that boat, but as you said before, with the Italians and the Australians and these guys coming back, then it's quite getting interesting. The other word is that on line 6, the Belgians, they are rowing for sport first for the Olympics, so they are yet not qualified. It's quite interesting that they made the final here. So we'll see how that goes.
Yes, the Hungarians, the Danes, France and Germany have all got boats through. The Czechs don't, and as you rightly said, the Belgians yet to qualify. Last opportunity will be in Lucerne. And just checking the category, well, in fact, it's quite competitive. There are 3 opportunities in the Latin American qualifying round, and there are actually 4 boats still with a chance of qualifying in Lucerne. So maybe there's a chance here for Belgium and the Czech Republic.
There you can see how tight also in this lightweight program and this lightweight men's double the competition is. You know, they're all close together.
The other, of course, big absentees and a huge disappointment for the local crowd here is Krusarski and Seach. Robert Seach, who's had a back problem. So, again, they've had to err on the side of caution and save themselves for Munich and indeed Lucerne as their preparation races. In fact, I think they're thinking that they might actually go to Duisburg.
That's exactly right, and that's exactly the problem you have in the Olympic season, David. That's what I feel with Marcel. You have to train on the line, close to the red line, but don't touch it too often, because then you take the risk, you know, that you get injured, that you get problems, and then you miss it at the end.
This double scull on screen at the moment, Mads Rasmussen and Rasmus Quist is, although it's a very close field, they're well out of it. They're open length, half length of open water ahead and sculling very nicely. Looking a bit worried in the faces, but in a very dominant position in this race in the second 500.
So at the moment, Denmark
at 37 strokes the minute, but as I said earlier about double sculls in a tailwind, which it is, and if you've got the right gearing and you stay up on top of it, 37 is not exceptional, and they're making that pace and leaving the rest to work out what to do behind them. They don't look vulnerable as some crews do when they're this far out in front. They look like a double that can keep going for a long time.
Yeah, but
as we said,
you have to be careful then with that thing. Exactly right what you say. You need the force on the blade. So the stroke rate, that's not always the thing. You know, you need the force. As we saw yesterday, remember the semi-final between Tufte and Chalupa? In 37, they went the whole course down, you know. But you saw what they had, you know, so.
So there it is, Denmark with a decisive advantage through the first half of the race, but you don't win anything for winning the first half of the race. It's the second half that really matters. And Denmark from Germany, Hungary looking okay, actually in 3rd place, and the speed between Hungary and Germany pretty well the same, 35.44, 35.22, their respective times in that second quarter. Hungary, who are at the bottom of your picture in lane 5, you can see them now in the lead, Denmark. And then look for Germany, 2 from the top of your picture when we get another wide shot of the regatta course.
But David, that was a quite interesting spot, you know, when they set the blade equally into the water. So you have really to find out between what happens up on the boat where the guys are working and what happens in the water. That makes the thing interesting. That was also interesting, and the winning goal today for the British 4, I think.
It's not just the blades going in, it's how the work comes on together, and but they look very nicely together in both the application of the power as well as placing the blade in the water.
What is interesting then that they are really testing the blades. Also we do that, so you have different shapes of blades, different sizes, so there's something going on the scene, you know, in that case. Now the Germans coming back, I think.
Yeah, the French are not out of this as well, because the French like to come with a late flourish. It's a style of racing of theirs, and it's given them many a medal over the years, and they're in third place now. And this is always going to be interesting to see whether the French actually can race their traditional finish here. But Denmark looking very good, these two. Denmark, Rasmussen and Quist, and it's in a sense theirs to lose rather than anybody else to win at the moment.
In their faces they're looking more relaxed now than they did in the second 500 meters, when they were a little bit surprised to be so far out, although the field has closed on them a bit. They were open water and now they're overlapping.
Here come the French leading that little charge. They've got the overlap there. Just beyond them are Germany, Euler and Bremer, who are going with the French if they can, but it's the French who are actually finding the pace here, coming down to 250 meters now, and the French trying to reduce that overlap to half a length on the near side here. That's the bow of the Hungarians, Zolt Erling and Thomas Varga. They've been on the premises all the way. Still Rasmussen and Quist, still focused, still keeping a really nice shape to their effort there. The left of the picture there, that's Hungary, then it's Denmark, and two from the top of the picture there, Germany, and the Czech Republic on the far side. France really coming now. France, you can see coming on to about a half a length deficit at the moment as they come towards the line. And Germany and France together, it's going to be very tight going across the line. It's Denmark who are going to take the success here, and the 8 World Cup points. Oh, it's on the surge, and I would say just the French from Germany, second and third, and Hungary just fading into fourth, Czech Republic in fifth, and Belgium in sixth place.
It's interesting how many races are decided these days by the crew which is coming forward to take the next stroke when they're that close. Have you had that experience in the single?
Yeah, that's a bit different. Everybody has another idea of sculling, and even when you see the singles, then it's quite interesting, in which even on the top level there's not one, let's say, one type, one style of sculling. You know, everybody has a bit his own and the coach's own idea. Everybody's following a bit another line. So when you compare, let's say, Tufte to Hacker or also to Yuri Jansson, it's completely different, you know. Quite interesting also by the rig. So if you compare a bit which material they are using, which riggers, which blades, I think the single is very special in that case, but in the middle boats, as we say in the fours or so, it comes a bit similar.
And again, this pedigree for lightweight rowing really showing here in the Danish duo.
The Danish squad is extremely strong. They are training in the gymnasium, they are training in the skis, they're training in every environment against the top athletes in the world. If you can get into that group as a new boy, then the sky's the limit. And as you saw, they can take their lightweight athletes, put them in open weight events, and still get very respectable results in the coxless pair.
Then be careful when we see the lightweight 4 afterwards. You know, that's getting a battle. I can tell you, the 3 German crews in the dents in, that's really interesting.
And the Danish may be playing a dangerous game, taking some strong people into the other crews, thinking they can just win the 4. It'll be very interesting how strong they make their 4.
Just looking ahead to after Lucerne, the preparation of with Marcel and the preparation of the German squad. Briefly, Andreas, what's your thinking about how you're going to use the time from the 20th of June to the 11th of August?
When I look over the whole crowd here, and when you talk to the coaches and listen what they do, they all have different ideas, and even we are not sure what we are doing if we join the party in Henley.
Yeah, I'll come back to that in a moment. We're just going to take a short break on Eurosport, but stay with us on worldrowing.com.
young, but they're ambitious and they're highly...
The Rowing World Cup is brought to you by Bearing Point.
Welcome back to the first Bearing World Cup regatta of the season. This is the lineup of the men's lightweight fours. Germany with three in fact, in this men's final. We'll introduce you to the first one later. This is the second quartet. They're in lane 2. Lane 3 occupied by Russia. This is the same quartet that finished 10th in the world a year ago. And next to them in lane 4, the world champions with one change, which I'll tell you in a moment. When we move across, here are the Danes. Eskil Ebertsen, Tor Christiansen and Thomas Ebert, they remain in the boat, but Bo Hellenberg is the man who's in for Stefan Molvig. But as you've just seen in the final of the men's lightweight double sculls, lightweight sculling or rowing, Denmark to be absolutely respected. Now Poland, Urbanski, Randa, Polak and Mrozovic, if I've got that right, they are the quartet for Poland. A little disappointing last year, only 12th. And Germany's third boat, closest to you in lane 6, with two men, Christian Gerlach and Frank Marja. And if I've got that wrong, Andreas will correct me. Both silver medalists in the lightweight men's pair last season, coming into this men's lightweight 4. But we've also got to remember that there are other crews who will come into this equation when we come to Athens. Canada will certainly have a lightweight 4 to be respected, and the USA. But are the Danes the men to beat today, Hugh?
They certainly are. It's worth noting that out of this field is the Dutch 4, which was a silver medalist last year. They won the petite finale after failing to make this final. So it's a strong indication, or a good indication, of the strength of the German squad, that they've managed to get 3 in there, and that there are several boats who didn't make this final, which didn't make this final, which would normally expect to have already qualified for the Olympics and would normally expect to be in the top 6.
So no Dutch, no Italians, who were the bronze medalists, and the North Americans not here either.
Remember also, David, that the world champion from 2001, the Austrians, they also not qualified, so they have also to make it, and they're also on the petite final. You know?
Yeah, the Austrians, who had that problem with their crew being found innocently guilty of taking an illegal substance. But just to put that into context, I thought FISA handled it very well, Hugh. It was very well dealt with and very well explained that in fact the boys had actually made every effort to make sure that they were using the right supplement, and in fact innocently, because they went and checked everything, and unfortunately for them it wasn't, and they served a 6-month suspension and will have the chance to qualify in Lucerne, which I think is good news.
I spoke to Martin Kobau, he's out, and Helfried Jocic, the guys, but they are training at the moment in Vienna, and the coach Martin Kessler, the head coach from the Austrians, he's thinking about bringing them back into the boat or not. So there are some values. What is interesting that the Germans, they made over years a really good lightweight 8s, and now they cut them off and they put them in 4s. And now it's one of the selection races, and in Lucerne I think only the strongest boat is in competition, and the rest they are out. It's really hard and tough for the guys, but I think it makes sense. Can you see how they battle it out then? It's unbelievable, the Danes, isn't it?
The Danes are at 44 strokes per minute, but they're rowing a good long stroke. I don't know how easy the gearing is, but they are moving that boat very fast indeed and very smoothly. And it looks to me that this is the pace they've trained at. It looks to me that they've set their gearing, set the length of the blade outside the rigger and inside it to work at this pace all the way. And I would not expect them to drop below 39 or 38 strokes per minute over the whole course, the way they're going after 500 meters, where they lead by a substantial margin in what is quite a fast boat for lightweight rowing.
If the opponents don't have the chance to make it or to come close to them at the third 5, I think they have big chances to go through. that's their style and that's their type of rowing. And you see the rhythm in the boat, how excellent they are moving their bodies and how they feel the pressure on the blade when the blade is set into the water.
It's one of the crews that most markedly does not race off what the rest of the field is doing, particularly when they race open weights. Some of these guys have been racing them for a long time. They know that the big heavyweights are going to blast out in front of them. They don't let it worry them. They get their own rhythm and they do their own thing. And if they were in second or third place now, they would be still doing the same rowing to get to 2,000 meters as fast as they can.
Yeah, but you have to be careful when the others are coming back, you know, and it's go closer. But at this wind conditions, I think you can try it, and that's a typical style, you know.
This is the point about 750 meters gone when you were saying that the wind is blowing across the course a bit, and we have looked at a couple of races since you made that remark, and you can see it's quite rough. I don't know whether it's fair or unfair. I suspect it makes no difference across the 6 lanes.
I think it's not unfair. When we saw the results, they were all a bit similar. I mean, maybe directly at the point where you make a sprint, where you try to go hard, then you have an advantage or disadvantage. As we saw this morning in the single, that's what I said. You know, it's a tough competition. It's tight. And then Yuri Jansson, he said, okay, I go as long as my fuel is in the tank. And when the fuel is out, maybe I'm getting fifth, but also you can make it, you know.
Yeah, well, he finished with enough petrol. He wasn't running on fumes. But this is really impressive. I mean, this is a storming piece of rowing here by this Danish lightweight 4, and they are absolutely dominating this. And now it's really just a run for the rest of the places. And as you said, Andreas, when you've got 3 German crews in here, it really matters to all of those 3 crews, because they are fighting for the possibility of getting a place. Because although in fact in the lightweight 4 you've actually already got a boat qualified, so you've got the place for Athens. It's just a question of who's going to occupy that boat.
And that's the thing, you know. I mean, you can go out in the same way than it ends, and at the end you're dying, you're running out of fuel. Sorry about that, David, but that's how we pronounce it in rowing, you know. And it can work, but it's very tough, you know. And when you have a really bad day, you miss it, and that's a problem, you know. And that's what the Danes, I think that's what they know, that they battle it out, and they want to keep out of that business. They want to make their own thing, and it works, as we can see.
Yeah.
And quite experienced, because you need a lot of experience for that.
And very hard to do what they're doing.
That's what we saw by the heavy combination, you know. He was waiting and waiting, Matthew, as he went, you know, and then at one spot, then he get it, you know. Then he made it, and then he went.
Not good news for the home fans here. Poland well out of this. Denmark, Germany 1. This is Andreas Bech, Stefan Locher, Axel Schuster and Martin Müller-Falke. Pretty experienced quartet. They're on the far side in lane number 1, and they're getting the better of the argument over the remainder. But you can see there's still considerable clear water between the Danes and Germany's number 1 boat on the far side in lane number 1. Then in third place, Germany 2. This is Alexander Bernhard, Thorsten Schmidt, familiar name, Berger Schmidt, and Matthias Hobein. And they're not that far behind, but it is Germany 1 who are at the moment getting the better of the argument with the other crews. Then lane 3, the Russians, who are just behind Germany 2, 39 strokes per minute.
The Danish guys are stroking 39. And it's incredible. But now you can see how the field is coming back. So that's what I said before with the fuel tank.
Very good finish now from Germany. Their number 1 crew on the far side there. They've cut it from clear water to about half a length. It's going to be maybe 3/4 as they come to the line. But the Danes have got the strength. They've got the desire. They know what they want to do. They've executed the plan. They take the win. Germany get second place. That's Germany 1. Russia overtake Germany 2 for third place. Poland move up a place to 5th spot. And then Germany 3. But Denmark continuing to send their message to anybody who wants to race them in the men's lightweight 4s that they are very much the crew to beat. Well, really exciting finish there to the men's lightweight 4s. Still, of course, we've got the women's squad, the men's squad, and the men's and women's 8s to come, and I'm absolutely delighted to say that having recovered, Kath Granger sitting on my left and Kath Bishop sitting on my right. Let's start with Kath Bishop. Tell me about the race today. How do you feel after that?
Yeah, we feel really positive. We enjoyed the race. It was a good race to be in. We felt we were right in there. Obviously, the outcome, it was a second not in our favour, so we've got a second place, which means we're dead hungry to come back and sort that out. But basically, we have got good fundamental speed. We're still at the stage of the season where we're trying things out, honing things. There's still a bit of work to do, but basically, it looks pretty good.
And what do you take out? These World Cup regattas, they are races, but they are stepping stones, and they're an opportunity to learn about what really matters, which is going for Olympic gold. So what do you take out of today's experience, Kath?
I think, like you said, for us, the main focus obviously will be the Athens Olympics, and that's the only race to us that we really have to win. Obviously, wonderful to win as many as we can along the way, but as you said, we'll see each race as something we can learn from and move on from, and any regatta that we come to and take lessons to then make us better for Athens in August is a winner for us. So yeah, it's disappointing not to win the first time we come back out again, but at the same time we'll probably learn more this way, and it does make us hungry. It does give us something more to aim for, and I think we've definitely moved on from the way we raced from last year. Certainly this time last year, and we've obviously still got a good finish, we've got a good start, and now it's the middle bit of the race we need to get right, and it's only small margins we're looking at, but that will make a difference come August.
And the next step for you, Munich World Cup?
Yeah, we've got 2 more World Cup regattas, one in Munich and one in Lucerne, and we're looking to attend both, so that's 3 weeks time. So we've obviously got to take lessons that we've learned from here and try and put them right in Munich.
And a chance to, I talked to you yesterday, Kath. I didn't have a chance to talk to the other Kath. Yeah, you relaxed by continuing your PhD on homicide.
Yes.
And you've got Will Young's latest album, I gather. Bit of a contrast.
Good grief, my deepest, darkest secrets are coming out now. Yeah, I mean, I actually relax as well by studying Serbo-Croat for my job at the Foreign Office, which is my other occupation, but Will Young helps there sometimes.
That's a very political answer. I was going to ask you, why did you buy the CD, and which was the track that you really wanted to sing along with?
Well, we are due to stop over in Warsaw tonight, so I don't know if they play any Will Young in the bars there, but we'll have to wait and see.
Well, let's since you're with us, and it's really timely, we've got the women's quad coming up, and
Yep.
we've got the British quartet. Now, of course, Catherine, for you, Athens, fantastic sorry, not Athens, Sydney, of course, fantastic moment getting that silver medal. This quartet here, could they emulate, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's for, we've had trials fairly recently, so for all of our boats, they've sort of made new crew formations, some of the bigger boats. This is a new quad that we haven't seen racing before. They had a race for lanes yesterday and won that, although it was quite tight with the other boats, so I think they'll be in for a good race today. A bit like us, they'll be looking to step up each regatta, so I wouldn't expect to see them at their strongest at the moment anyway. I think they've got a bit to go, but I think certainly early signs are showing they've got some good strengths.
And there are, of course, there's some important absentees like Australia, who won the title last year. Kat, for people listening, because not only with Eurosport but on worldrowing.com, water conditions, what's it like out there today?
It's lively, definitely. It's actually better than it has been the last couple of days. The wind is a light following wind, so it's reasonably fast. There's a touch of side winds at time, which gives you a bit of a chop, so you can see that the water isn't flat, so it's definitely lively, which means we have to be very clean with our blades in between the strokes. So it is challenging, but it's certainly, quite, you should have a good race. Most rowers like fast conditions, and it's not too rough, so it should be good racing conditions, particularly for the bigger boats, to get some good times.
Chilly though.
Chilly and a bit of rain, but as long as the wind doesn't get any stronger, that's what we notice most.
And just looking beyond the 3 World Cup regattas, when you get to past Lucerne and you've got the time between, say, the 21st of June and then to about the 11th of August, have you formulated a plan where you're going to be with the squad? Where are you going to go?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a big gap for us at the end of the last racing until the Olympics. So for us, we can almost deal with it. It's a sort of compressed year for us. We'll go back to almost winter training, which is very long pieces of work, back down to doing a lot of sort of low intensity to improve bits and pieces of technique. And then towards the end of that time, we'll be doing more sharpening, racing type work. We'll split the time between 3 places. We'll be at home for the first few weeks, and then we'll be going to a training camp in Germany for a couple of weeks, and then on to the final one. Preparation will be in Italy. That's our final preparation for Athens.
Does it sort of concern you that it's quite a long period without a race? I mean, a real race.
Yeah, I mean, yes, obviously we still keep some competitive element in it with other sort of members of the squad and other boats we will be competing against, although obviously not competitive as in sort of international racing. But at the same time, there's a lot of work to be done, and that's where we really do move on, and that's where last year we put quite a lot of our speed from, was just the training time we did there. So I think, you know, we'll enjoy the next 2 regattas to come, and then it's knuckling back down to hard work to prepare for Athens.
Sorry, I just got a little tap on my shoulder. That's why we started speaking. I wasn't quite sure about what that was about, but anyway, let's just introduce you to the 4 crews. It's in a way a little disappointing that there's only 4 crews, but hopefully things will get better as we go through the World Cup season. The Netherlands, Hernet Dekkers, Fruki Wegman, Annemiek de Haan and Marlies Schmulders. They're the quartet who are closest to you at the bottom of your picture. And then Great Britain, China, really interesting to see how this quartet goes. This is, as we've said all through the morning, part of the long build-up towards Beijing. And most of this group of 11 women who over here are based out of Shanghai these days, which is one of their major rowing centres. And here our British 4. Rebecca Romero in the stroke seat, Frances Houghton, Debbie Flood and Alison Mowbray. It has the makings of something really special, doesn't it, Kath?
Definitely, the whole women's sculling team is pretty special. It's a very close-knit team, and the standard is very close amongst them with both the quad and the double. And certainly when we've had various combinations of quads out through the winter and at different times, that they've all looked pretty good. And you know that there's enough experience in this crew now that they should start to learn the event quickly and be able to make a mark.
So almost ready to go. We're supposed to be off at exactly 1/2 the hour, so about 20 seconds to go, and everything's run to clockwork here. Have you first time you've been to Poznan?
It is first time, and very impressed. It's a very friendly place, lovely, really pretty park in which the lake is situated, and I think they've done a really excellent job.
You won't have time to try the bobsleigh course then this afternoon.
Seems not, but you never know.
It is an amazing place. I mean,
yeah.
You know, when you think of the development of Eton, this is, you know, this sort of activity here that you've got the choice of activities is exactly what you need, isn't it, to bring a big family crowd down.
Definitely, it's a great environment for outdoor activity of many different sorts.
Well, maybe our spies will watch it, but here we go, off in the first quarter of the women's quadruple sculls, and Netherlands, Great Britain in 3, then China and Denmark. And race plan here, Kath, for the British quad to try and dominate this right from the word go?
Yeah, I think absolutely. They have to take confidence in the way they've been sculling and training, and also that they won the race yesterday. It wasn't tight, it wasn't comfortable, and one of the girls yesterday said it wasn't with much elegance. But at the end of the day, it's first across the line is the important one, and I think they will be looking to dominate from first to last.
And the Chinese, of course, 3 from the bottom of the picture. Really interesting, because in that great long run of German success since women's quadruple sculls were first introduced in the World Championships in 1985, it was 1993 when the Chinese sprung the all-time surprise and Rachiche and actually turned over the German crew. So there's something special about the Chinese in this boat class as well as the lightweight classes.
Yeah, and I think people know that the sort of domination of the Germans up until the Australian obviously turned them over last year. China was the only one to interrupt that, and so whenever a Chinese quad comes in, people do get a little bit nervous. This is a very young Chinese quad, and like you said, they are looking towards Beijing, but it's very, very impressive to see where they are at this stage already. So I think, you know, although as much as our crew want to keep focusing their own boat, they must be aware of what's going on around them.
Good start by the British 4.
Definitely. Quads racing is always very tight, and I am slightly impressed by the standard of this event here, with only 2 of the crews having qualified and none of the crews having made the final apart from the British. But they're not having it all their own way, but it does look like they're now going to start to pull ahead, hopefully. settling into their rhythm. It's Debbie Flood who's stroking the crew today, and Rebecca Romero's in the 2 seats, so they have slightly changed the order, and it's looking pretty uniform.
And the coach for this crew?
Paul Thompson has been working with them, and also Mark Banks been working with the sculling squad, but here it's Paul Thompson who's looking after them, and he'll be looking to see them set a good mid-pace rhythm. It needs to be sharp, but it needs to be relaxed, and under pressure that's the difficult thing to do.
And of course there will be interest down under, because those who are still awake down under will be able to watch this on worldrowing.com, and it's quite an interesting guide that they've got now to see what's happening on the other side of the world.
Definitely. Once there's a crew that's been in the final, which is the British, then there'll be a measure for them, and the British were at 0.3, I think, off winning the bronze medal in Milan. Very, very, very close. So they know that the British are a class outfit.
And they've certainly now got the measure, it would seem, of the other crews, and they now need to keep working. When you get to a situation like this, and you can actually have command, and you know that possibly you can go on and win the race, which is the primary objective. To what degree do you then decide, well, let's find out about ourselves?
I think it's better. I mean, at this point in the race, it's halfway through, but they haven't broken clear of any of the crews. They're still in physical contact from boat to boat. So at this level, you're going to be obviously very confident in where you've got to, but any margin generally isn't enough, because these boats can have a quick turn of speed, and you need to keep moving out as much as possible. Once you get clear water, then you can almost do exactly what you want yourself, and test yourself in any part of the race that you want to test. But while it's still in contact like this, I think they'll just keep looking to move out, and again, it won't be a quick change. It'll be very much one stroke at a time, just trying to get the extra inches, and you can see them now moving away quite clearly.
Conversely, Kath, do you get the situation where you've got it under control and you say, I'm not going to give anything else away?
They may not absolutely build a high rate to the line, but they'll certainly want to look to get a good time out of this. Very much we have a set race plan before we race, so they'll be very much in the now, doing what they need to do in this section of the race, and so they're very much, our psychologists and our coaches all instill in us that we have to live in the now. It's one stroke you're working on, so you won't be thinking about winning at this point. You shouldn't be thinking about winning at this point. You're thinking about the next stroke, the next section of the race, just a couple of 100 metres, and making sure the next move is effective as possible. And as Catherine said, no distance is ever enough, and so they will definitely be looking to focus and getting the most out one stroke at a time.
So, well, in terms of television, we often break the race into quarters, like you would on an athletics race, where you break it into, first, second, third, fourth laps. So that's how you work through it as well.
Yeah, I mean, all the markers you'll see, the main markers are every 500 metres, which is the quarter of the race. It's also split, each 500 is then split into 250 metre. So there's very clear markers every 250 metres down the course, and all our race plans we based off different ways off those 250 markers, and you get a gauge as you go through each one, how you're doing and how you're doing against the rest of the field. But at the same time, as quick as you notice that, you want to come straight back, you're focusing to your own boat again.
But when you form a partnership, as you two have, do you find that obviously you've got to be with the pace to be in the race, but at the same time, as we've seen in all sports, you see people who like to actually stay with the pace and come from behind, and people who like to actually lead. What have you found about between the two of you about, do you have a preference? Or
I think every crew would like to be ahead. It's a very commanding position like we're seeing with this quad. The unusual thing about rowing is you are going backwards, so when you are leading, you get to see the rest of the field, and that's a very strong position to be in, and we'll see this British quad now as they're coming towards the line. That's the position they're in. They'll see on the far right their crews are moving
up. Danes are looking strong and definitely coming back to challenge them, which is interesting.
Yeah, this is the Danes on the top of the picture there.
British blade work has just been getting a little bit messy, because it's still, they need to keep clean, and they are now being put under pressure, so this is going to test them.
And this is
looks like they have got an answer.
Yeah, and this is really good, isn't it, Kath? Because this is exactly what this stage of the season is about. They've been asked a question and they've actually found the answer.
Absolutely.
I mean, this is the thing, at this point you don't want, lovely obviously to have an easy win, but at the same time you will learn more from those tight races, and they'll know they had a commanding lead throughout the whole race, and when they're challenged towards the end by the Danes, they could respond, and that's something they'll take with them when they move on.
So the two countries are already qualified about Great Britain and Denmark, finishing first and second there. Chinese they'll be encouraged for that. They're staying in Europe right the way through to Lucerne. As I said earlier, I had a chat with, I wasn't quite sure what his position was. He certainly wasn't the coach, he interpreter, minder, and he was saying that they're really enjoying it here. And he said the air quality was that was his first comment. Was he said the air quality, that we don't have pollution.
Wow, that's an interesting view.
And they love the food. I asked him, no, very happy with European food.
It's good as well, because that is part of it. I mean, you do want, of course, it's a very serious business, and we're all in here because everyone wants to win and you know, does it as part of their life. But at the same time, you've got to enjoy. You know, it's lovely when crews do come over and enjoy being in Europe, enjoy the racing over here, and take pleasure out of what they're doing.
Well, good start, and actually, not a fright, but the question, as you said, Kath, came in the last 500 when the Danes found the pace. They did the last quarter in well, actually, if I check this out, just checking this out and make sure haven't got the right stats, but I will in a minute. I said that optimistically, and the Danes 136.69, 136.33. So they did answer the call.
You do. I mean, the Danes. Danes in the Netherlands had a slightly faster.
Well, the Chinese actually won 35.24. They were the fastest finishers.
Absolutely, and that's what is good is when they're in a commanding position where they were, other crews can obviously have the faster 500 but still not do enough to catch up. So, I mean, ideally, what we did last year, we had a very fast last 500 and we came through the crews we had to pass. Ideally, you're out ahead and all you do is you match their speed, and if you're ahead, obviously, any speed they can do that you can match, you stay ahead. And our crew had done enough by that point that they could hold off any challenge.
Good. Okay, well, I know you're going to rush away to do other things. Next step for you is Munich.
Yes.
End of the month. So between now and then, what are you going to be up to?
Well, like Kat said, tonight we're spending a sunny night in Warsaw. So whatever that holds for us, we'll be back in Britain from tomorrow, and then training starts soon after that. We'll do a good debrief on the races we've had here.
The dreaded video analysis will come with our coaches.
We do have
frame by frame.
Yes. Video jury, where all our theories on how we race gets usually. The truth comes out in the video session of what actually happens. We spend a lot of time, looking at the times, looking at how we did, where we could get stronger, what it looks like in the video, the technique, and then it just begins. We've got 2.5 weeks back in Britain to get everything as best quality as possible for coming back to racing Munich.
But not the win, but not despondent.
No, not at all. I mean, in a way, of course, gold's always the one you want, but at the same time, for this time of year, to get the silver to only a second off the winners shows that we're exactly where we need to be, and it does make us be hungrier and know that we can't sit back and be confident where we are. We need to move forward the whole time, and that's just a sort of reminder that we're not sitting at the top of the world and that we're very, very close to it, but we've got a bit of work to do to get there. And to be honest, that's the kind of situation that we both sort of respond best to.
Yes, definitely. Good result, but there's more to be done.
Good. Well, thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Kath.
Pleasure. Really
good first step. Things hopefully will continue to get better, and that dream of an Olympic gold in Athens, very much there.
Absolutely. I think we're enjoying it, and also, I mean, just to be able to support the rest of the women's crews as well has been fantastic, and I think we'll see good success from everyone.
Well, on behalf of everyone at Eurosport and also worldrowing.com, thanks for taking time to come over and see us.
Thank you very much.
Thanks to both Catherine Granger and Kath Bishop and Hugh Matheson, about to rejoin me for the final of the men's quadruple sculls, which is coming up. And then, of course, the 2/8s, the men's and the women's 8s, in reverse order. So, Hugh, good performance by the British women's quad.
Absolutely excellent performance, not just because they won, that was fine. The fastest quads in the world weren't there, but because the way they did it, it was an even stage of improvement. At every quarter, they just pushed on a little bit further, and were very strong and dominant right the way through in an event for which this quad has no experience, and so that they've learned so much about how to race and conduct themselves at this level was really encouraging.
Line up on your screen now for the final of the men's quadruple sculls. Far side in lane 1, Estonia, who've had some very good performances in the finals here, and clearly a rowing force in development. Estonia in 1, Russia in lane 2. This is the quartet that finished 5th in last year's World Championships. By the way, all 6 countries represented here have all qualified a boat already for the Olympic Games. Poland with Adam Korol, Sławomir Kurowski, Marek Kowowiec and Adam Bronikowski. They're in lane 3, and fingers crossed they have a better run here. The Poles have had sort of mixed fortunes today. Started with a win, and but 1 or 2 other things haven't gone their way. Germany with their Olympic boat. Now this is already decided that Andre Wilm, Stefan Volkart, Marco Geisler and Robert Sens, they will be the quartet to represent Germany, and of course they are the world champions. Belarus with 3 of the 4 men that actually finished at 11th in the boat. The man who's sitting in the 2-seat with the extremely long name, which I'm not even going to attempt, is the new man. He's coming from Mr. Salamakin, who was there a year ago. And closest to you, France, with 3 of their quartet that finished 9th. Now the man who's gone out is Doucet. The man who's come in the 2-seat is Berest. And bottom of the screen, France. 2 from the bottom in yellow boat is Belarus. Germany are in 3. Germany in 4, Poland in 3. 2 from the top of the picture will be Russia, and furthest away Estonia. Well, could we have a Polish win here? It should be a good dust-up between the Poles and the Germans in lanes 3 and 4. I think they look very psyched up looking at the German crew there. Andre Wilm's in the bow seat. I think they regard this as more than just an opener for the season. I think it's very important to put down the marker of how fast you're going to go. These are 2 Poles, after all, third last year and second the year before, right up there, and Germany the winners for those 3 years. So this is showdown. Yeah, Poles have had, they've always been good, but they've always come up against somebody to just take the major on away from them. You're just feeling, maybe their luck's going to change. The wind is certainly changing. I don't know whether that's part of the luck. It's got a lot stronger just in the last 5 minutes, and the flags are now standing out practically horizontal, having been flapping down the pole, and it looks fairly direct head, but we've been told again and again that it's a bit cross further down the course. Over at the start, you can see from the picture there, it is completely calm. You said direct head. I was looking at it, looks more like direct tail, but I'm looking at the flag directly in front. Sorry, direct tail, I beg your pardon. I meant straight down the course would be the right thing to say. Anyway, here we have Poland sharply off the start, and we'll see in a second how the Germans are more anxious off the start, and a lot more water flying around the place, digging very deep there. The strokeman Robert Sens, who is one of the very, very few to have converted into quadruple sculling from being a sweep oarsman with a single blade in his hand instead of 2. He was world champion in the coxless pair with Detlef Kirchhoff some years ago, then switched to sculling. That's a very rare change. Sometimes people switch to sculling and go in the single, where their idiosyncrasies can then affect anybody else, but to go into a crew boat like this is a remarkable change. But to balance that out, as a junior, he was a sweep oarsman, so sculler, then sweep oarsman. Sculler, yeah, it was a sculler. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Then sweep oarsman, and then came back into sculling. Yeah. No, he had the background. It's still an unusual switch. So Germany with a solid start here, and this is such a mature crew, but also we've got to remember that the Italians will have a decent quadruple scull to put into the argument as well. Yes, there are several countries. Holland can come up with a good quad. There are several that might do so, but the Andre Wilm's
he was, after being junior champion, he was single scull senior champion 10 years ago. Stefan Volkert and Marco Geisler have been in the quad for years and years, and as I said, Robert Sens is no junior. He's just come in lately after his career in rowing.
Interesting that the countries that have actually qualified already include Australia, Germany, Great Britain, Italy, who've got their quad qualified, the Czech Republic, France, Russia and Belarus, Estonia, Poland and Switzerland. So all those countries have actually qualified a quad, and the situation as you look forward to Lucerne is, looking at that, there are only 2 more places up for grabs.
Indeed, the Lucerne will be another bloodbath, because there'll be a lot of people trying to qualify in those 2 places.
Including the United States and Canada, I suspect.
Although United States and Canada have the concentration of strength in their squads in other boats, and so the quad has always come behind, and in neither case have they in recent years devoted their best physiques, their best bodies to the sculling squad. They've tended to concentrate on the rowing squad.
One nation who are disappointingly absent from here are actually the Ukraine, who generally have very strong sculling squads, but not appearing here. Maybe at Munich. We'll have to wait and see.
Maybe they will. I mean, it is one of the consequences of the breakup of the former Soviet Union following 1990, that we have so many very strong countries that were previously part of that union. And one hates to think how many wonderful athletes were left behind when they chose the Soviet Union team to go to the USSR team to go to a championships, because we would be missing several of the crews that have been startlingly good to look at here.
Well, it's the Russians who've got the call at the moment in lane 2 narrowly. This is Sergei Fedorovtsev, who's in the stroke seat, from Alexei Svidin, and then Igor Kravtsov and Nikolai Shpinev. That's the quartet from the Russia. Poland in second place, Germany third, but all to play for in the second half of the race. Germany in the foreground there in lane number 4, just perhaps regaining the advantage now as we go into the second half of the race.
Yes, Germany showing, but considering that they're rowing along 37 strokes to the minute, the Germans, and very solid and strong, this is a fairly impressive performance by the Russians coming up in lane 2 there.
And there the gaps, it's pretty close. I mean, they've got the Russians ahead there. I'm not sure that I necessarily agree with that. Again, I'd take the graphics there with a pinch of salt.
Well, the line of boys that you can see passing under the crews as we speak shows Germany half a length now in front of Russia, and I think it was not so much, but it was definitely a lead for Germany at the marker.
Poland also being urged on now in lane number 3. They really need to find something more, because they were outsped by the best part of a second and more by both Germany and Russia in that third quarter, and that's really important now as they come down to 250 meters. It is Germany in lane 4 who lead on the near side. It's Belarus moving forward to challenge now. Belarus, who've been lurking down in 5th place and are now really putting pace to the race here, and this quartet, 3 of them who were in the boat that finished 11th last year, and they are definitely in with a chance of a podium finish, because you can see the bow of lane 5, and Germany, though, the angle is very deceptive there. It's not really a very honest picture, but now Germany, who are being chased by Russia in second place, and it's a real fight on the far side. Estonia finishing again extraordinarily quickly on the top of your picture there to try and grab third place. Germany get first. Oh, second there, maybe Belarus.
Well, it was a tremendous result. Was moderately predictable. It was thought to be going to be a close race between Great Britain and China. In the case of the men's 4,
and I have to say here, we're wrapped up rather warm, and I'm grateful for my fleece at the moment, because it really is chilly.
The scoreboard keeps telling us it's 15 degrees centigrade, but the wind chill factor is making it not weather for shorts.
Yeah. That's
16 degrees centigrade, the scoreboard now says. Well, yes, I don't believe a word of it. That seagull has got the message.
I think it's been operated by the Polish Tourist Board, who are trying to deceive us that this is the Polish summer. So here we go, the final of the men's eights. There the lineup. Croatia, of course, bronze medalists at the Olympic Games. The Netherlands in 5. Well, they had their great moment in Atlanta. France on the far side in lane number 1. Really, this is a new enterprise for the French. And talking of the French, there's a change of generations amongst the French now. And in many ways, a lot of their hopes are pinned on Beijing more than they are on Athens. Great Britain, of course, Olympic champions, but have they got the crew to defend that title?
Who knows? Just going back to Holland there, you mentioned that they were winners in Atlanta. Diederik Seaman was in that crew, and he's here today. So that's I think he's the only link with that generation, because, as you say, most of them are getting their Keller medals and are in retirement now.
Romania in lane number 3, and Germany. Well, Germany, who, if you were with us for the World Championships last year, one has to say they had rotten conditions.
Yes. This is, as it were, payback time for all of these crews. It's a new season. They're substantially similar crews in many cases. They assume that the Canadians and the Americans, which were first and second placed in Milan last summer, will be based at least on the same crews, and so this is a very important indicator for those. You've got to really be winning here, or in the first 2 or 3 here at the to think of making the final, let alone being sure of getting a medal in Athens in 100 days' time.
So, bottom of the picture, Croatia. 2 from the bottom are the Dutch in orange. Then in the pink boat, it's Germany. They're in lane number 4. Romania wearing yellow hats, the chaps, as opposed to the girls who wear red ones. And then Great Britain, 2 from the top of your picture they'll be, and France on the far side. Great Britain with Tom James in the stroke seat, Robin Bourke-Taylor at 7, Phil Simmons, Josh West from the 4 in at 5, Andrew Hodge at 4, John O'Devlin, Dan Ousley and Tom Stallard in the bow seat. Christian Cormack, the coxswain for Great Britain.
In the British 8 there, with Stallard at bow, Josh West at 5, Robin Bourne-Taylor at 7, Tom James at stroke and Christian Cormack at cox. Those have all been involved in the boat race. And then you look across at the Dutch crew, and Gerrit Jan van Inkamp, who's number 2 in the Dutch crew, 2 from the bow. He was in the boat race with all those guys. So it's a home show.
So the last race on this Behring World Cup regatta here in Poznan, and away we go. So as ever, it's get out fast, go faster, but for goodness sake, stay fast all the way down this course. And we're going away with the Romanians, and one man not suitably dressed there. That's Florin Correa, who's not got his yellow hat.
Either facing forwards or backwards, but he is rowing at 47 strokes to the minute, so he's doing a service to his country without it.
Away we go. We saw Holland there. Interestingly, they've got Chung Chung Wei, who's their coxswain. Haven't actually discovered where he originates from, but he's the man who's got the race plan, facing Michael Bartmann in the stroke seat. But it is Germany now who've got the bow of their 8 in front, and this crew with Peter Tida in the coxswain seat, but everyone talking about the man in the stroke seat, Enrico Schnabel, who's the man they believe is the man to make the difference, in from Dresden to make the difference in the stroke seat.
He's a big chap for a stroke. If you look at his shoulders there in that picture, he's sitting as high at least as anybody in the crew, higher than most. And we've now switched, of course, to the Croatian stern in lane 6.
But coming through the first 500 metres, and it is Germany who've got the advantage, albeit a narrow one, but they lead at the moment through that first 500 from Romania, from France, Great Britain in 4th place, and then Netherlands and Croatia. But it's pretty tight there. Nobody's broken away, and all to play for as we go through the second quarter of this race. Germany, of course, in the foreground. Whenever I think of the strokes, the great strokes, of course, one of the great ones for Germany, Roland Barr, but he actually only won an Olympic silver and bronze. He never actually managed to get the gold medal. He's on the IOC Athletes Commission, the same as Matthew Pinsent, and therefore has an influence. And as the Germans now just perhaps being surpassed by Romania.
Yes, and worryingly, the British 8 has now dropped back into 6th place and is slipping. It wouldn't matter so much if they were that far behind in headwind or slow conditions, but in these very fast conditions, they've got a lot to make up to be that far behind coming up to 1,000 meters. You can see the 1,000-meter mark in the background there, that yellow marker, and Germany closing on it rapidly. That's the Great Britain bow there, number 2, moving out of the picture with France and Romania on either side, having squeezed out a full length on you.
Yeah, France actually doing quite well with Laurent Cadeau, the man in the stroke seat, with Jean-David Bernard in 7, and they're actually doing considerably better than the British 8 at the moment. And on the near side in lane number 6, Croatia at the moment. This is quite disappointing, and I'm just wondering whether this wind is having any sort of effect. If it had, I would expect it to actually be helping people on this side.
Well, lanes 2 and 6 are back at the moment, which means it's difficult to tell. But what is curious here is that the French crew, slowest qualifying into the final, is now challenging Germany and Romania, who are out of the picture, and has cleaned away from the crews at the back, Croatia and Great Britain. France this is pulling something out of the bag. They were not going this fast before. Now, it may be that the tailwind conditions and the extremely fast conditions suit them better, or they may have found some secret of rhythm overnight.
Romania with the call there. 1:19.81 was Germany as they led through the first quarter. Romania 1:20.57 to take the advantage, and you can see it's a significant advantage now from Romania. This isn't just a little lead. They've gone from maybe just under a quarter length down to what, 3/4 up.
And have a sort of rhythm, have a look about them, which means they can go the whole way. There's nothing challengeable about that. If you looked across, you'd think, goodness, what do I do now? Because a full length up and steaming.
Yes, and at the moment, Great Britain in what, fifth place, 4th place, with Croatia just moving up a little bit, and I have to say the British are well out of this at the moment.
Yeah, and France challenging Germany, looking much the more likely crew. France on the far side there, challenging Germany in the pink boat, with Romania still a length up, although not so much as they were, but still looking pretty comfortable to me.
So into the last 250 meters of this final race of the regatta here, and Romania at the moment with sufficient petrol in the tank, I think, to hold off Germany. France still going extremely well. France, who finished 4th last year in the World Championships, but this is a really good effort. There's only 2 of that crew who are actually in the boat today, but it is Romania coming home, and they've really commanded this. They've got virtually clear water over Germany, who are now being seriously challenged by France. The angle doesn't really tell the story on the television picture, but it is Romania coming up now. They will get the win. Germany will just about hold on to 2nd place here. France will be, oh, that's very close. France being challenged by the Netherlands, who are in fact on the near side, I think, have just grabbed that 3rd place.
The scoreboard was wrong. It showed Great Britain in 4th place. They were actually in 5th place, so we'll get a correction in due course. But I think a very powerful and demonstrative, and you look to see how happy they are with that. A very powerful and demonstrative row by the Romanians, and possibly just a little bit of a gauntlet being thrown across the Atlantic to Canada and the United States. I think this crew's expecting to do well right through the season from the whole style of that victory.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed our coverage today. Thanks very much to Mike Haggerty. We've just got your email in. And whilst Hugh dissects that, I'll just run through the official stats here. Romania 123.77, Germany 123.61 for the last score. The Netherlands 121.42. There's an interesting characteristic here on the Netherlands. A lot of their crews, and we've seen this for the last few seasons, they finish with a flourish and they often grab a bronze medal, but they leave themselves too far off the racing pace early on.
Yes, well, we got that from Great Britain last year, it has to be said. So they're similar in tactics. They snuck through at the end and got their bronze medal, having had a less impressive earlier season. And there's a lot to see from these two. But I was terribly struck in that race, as I've said a couple of times, by the Romanian certainty. It was a certain rhythm. It was absolutely solid. Yeah, they rode through the race really to their own tactics. They set all the pace. Mike Haggerty writing in just now, given the strength of the German squad system and the fact that despite being world champions in Seville, I think he switched to the 4, the Germans have not dominated the Cox's 4 event. Do you think it is strange not to see any personnel changes in that crew over the years? Maybe changes this year given the arrival of GB, and that we still have to see Canada, the USA, Italy and Australia come into things. Obviously I don't know the minds of the German selectors. Remember, as David pointed out earlier, they haven't qualified a pair. So of the men's sweep rowing, they've got a good 8, we've just seen it. They've got not good enough to beat Romania, but still a good 8. They've got a Cox's 4 that was world champion in Seville, as you point out, bronze medal last year, and they haven't got a pair qualified. So they've got to think about whether they want to put a really strong pair together, which they appear to be trying to do, to make a qualification there, leaving then the 4 to take its chances, or whether they would try and strengthen the 4 and possibly sacrifice the pair in that process. But these 4 have been together for a long time. They are dedicated to that particular type of boat, and it may be that changing it won't improve it.
The other thing which you made the point is that they are in this still in the training phase. There's a lot of race pace that Andreas was suggesting to come, and therefore probably I would say at the moment I'd sort of wait and see what happens in Munich, because I think we'll see a different crew in Munich.
Munich will be the showcase for the German team. It usually is, and why not? It's their Olympic course.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed it. Many thanks to all of you for being with us today. Thanks also to those of you who've been with us on worldrowing.com, and for those of you who've sent us in an email to rowing@infovoice.de. If you do have any other thoughts and questions, please continue to send them in. We'll gather them all together. We'll try to reply, and we'll try to put those forward to Munich when that email address will be available to you once again. Thoughts? We've got 60 seconds, Hugh, here on Eurosport. Thoughts of the morning?
I think it's been fortunately the wind has been a tailwind, so it hasn't been disrupting races, it's been enhancing them, and it's been a spectacular introduction to the World Cup season.
And personally, well, for me, delighted to see the British 4 back on top. Hope you've enjoyed it. From Hugh Matheson and myself, David Goldstrom, bye-bye from Poznan. Well, as you know, on Eurosport, we have our programme regularly.
Successful rowing team again.
It's good news, Steve. Good news. Thanks for joining us today, James. Hope the injury gets better soon.
Thanks, man.
Okay, best of luck. Right. Let's look ahead.